Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dentaa show. And tonight is going to be a great show because I have my sisters with me. You know that song, right? The song that says, I have my sisters with me. You must know that song. If you do know that song, shout me out in the comments. Let me know where you are watching the Dentaa show live from this evening. I know that everybody's been waiting. I know you can't see my face. You can see the Dentaa show logo. It's because that's what I want you to see. I want you to share your pages before you see my beautiful face and my guest. I want you to share your pages. So please share your page if you are watching. Tonight is going to be a very, very good conversation. So make sure that you tell a friend to tune into the Dentaa show. We are live. If you are watching me on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe for one. And two, you share your pages. And the good thing about YouTube is that you can share it on Twitter, you can share it on Facebook, LinkedIn. You know, there's a whole heap of places that you can share this page on. Oh my God, somebody's watching us from Lagos. Eben, hi. Let me know what you're watching us from as well. Good evening, Ohine. Audrey, welcome to the Dentaa show. Khadija, Esther, thank you so much for joining us on the Dentaa show this evening. I want to say a big thank you to World Remit for sponsoring the Dentaa show live. We really appreciate your support. And I want to say a big thank you to Vesta London Beauty and also Cassie's Classics. I'm going to show you their product in a second, but right now I just want you to share your pages. Keep sharing that page. Keep sharing that page. Keep liking that page. If you are watching me on Facebook, make sure that you do a watch party because Facebook allows you to do watch parties now. So it's important that you guys do a watch party. Okay. And like the page, follow the page. So as I said, tonight is going to be a very good conversation. Our topic is something that is very dear to my heart. So, the pressures of being an African woman, marriage, career, children, dating. You know, I remember before I got married, actually, you know what? Let me let you see my face now. Let me show you my face. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me see. Here I am. Good evening, everybody. I hope that you are, eagerly waiting for my guests who are on the show. But, when you're a woman, right, the first thing that you may get asked is, when are you getting married? When are you having a child? Hey, when is that baby coming? Or even when you have the first child, they're like, hey, when's the second one? They need someone to play with, okay? And it goes on, and there seems to be so much pressure on us. And so tonight, our beautiful guests are going to be discussing that. But before I bring them all on, I'm going to bring everybody on at one time so that we can really get the conversation going. I must say a big thank you to Cassie's Classics, as I mentioned her before. So Cassie's Classics does this amazing seasoning, shito, you name it. Hey, her jollof seasoning power, when you use that jollof seasoning, yeah, you'll never eat another jollof rice ever again because it is special. Her seasoning, go online, that's her website details. Go on there and make sure that you order. Remember, we are supporting Black businesses, so this is the time that we all need to support. Go on that website and order her spices. Let me tell you which ones apart from, ordering all of it. But my favorite is the shito and the jollof seasoning and the all-purpose seasoning. So make sure that you go online and you subscribe and you buy the product. It's really, really delicious. You will thank me later. I know you will. And then I have Vesta London Beauty. Vesta London Beauty, she has this amazing lip glaze, which is what I've got on at the moment. Really, really nice. Again, another young woman doing amazing things, and you should go out there and support, okay? And then, if you haven't heard of Seek, right? Seek is some headphones made by Ghanaian Mary Spio. When I tell you that when you have these on and you're listening to music, you can't hear anything but the music. It vibrates. I mean, it's just so special. If you go online to www.seekvr.com and use the promo code Dentaa VIP, of course you're a VIP. That's why it's Dentaa VIP, right? You get 10% off of all the products that she has online. So make sure that you go on and buy one. Let's all support. And it's got a microphone as well. It's a fantastic headphone. So please go out there and buy it. And also a big thank you to World Remit for always supporting the Dental Show live. We really appreciate your support. Okay, I'm sure now you're eagerly waiting to see my guests. Okay, let me see where everybody's. Okay, we have Lily from USA. Kofi saying good evening. Lynn is saying good evening. Good evening, everybody. I hope that you are doing really well. Should I get the show on the road? I think we should. Okay. So let me bring on my beautiful sister. She was on one of the shows already, and she's joining me again, and I love her for that. So welcome, Lydia.
Hi. I was like, she has so many sisters. Which one could it be?
You're thinking, which one of her sisters?
Like, which one of us? I'm glad I was not caught.
Then I know. Lydia, how are you, sis? How are you doing?
I'm good. I cannot complain. Thank you for asking. How are you?
You're looking beautiful as always.
Thank you.
And congratulations on Perfect Picture. As you know, I was watching it whilst calling you. I was like, Lydia. It's fantastic. And you guys are what? The top three in three African. So you're number one in Ghana.
Yes.
Is it Kenya? Nigeria. And then Nigeria? What?
Nigeria. Yeah, we're top 10 in three African countries, and hopefully counting. So.
Wow. It's an amazing film, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And that's that movie is the movie that I first saw you on the screen and I fell in love with you. That movie, that's when I got to know who Lydia Forson was.
Thank you.
So saying that, I've got my other sister all the way from Kenya, Lydia. Hey, sis.
Hi, Dentaa. How are you? I'm good. How are you? I can see there's Lydia. We're two now.
Yes. I mean, just when you said Lydia, I was like,
I know.
We're two. Hi, Lydia.
Yes, you're two. I'm good. How are you?
Lydia's her middle name. I'm good. Lydia's her middle name, but I've always called her Lydia. But I think for this program, we'll call you Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so there's no confusion.
Yeah.
No problem.
And how's Kenya? How's Kenya?
Kenya is good. Kenya is very cold right now. This is like the winter season, so it's actually very cold. We're on 10 degrees or 9 degrees at night.
Wow.
Oh wow! Thank you so much for staying up and being on the conversation. I really appreciate it. So let me bring my other sister, Nancy.
Thank you so much.
Nancy, what's happening? How are you?
Hi. Sis? I'm beautiful, Dentaa. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Awesome.
How's your TV show going? How's your TV show going? And tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so Duvet is doing great. It's the late night talk show where we're giving information that's making the bedrooms of our viewers warmer, and women are getting the bedroom confidence and all of that. Lydia has not been on my show though, which I've been looking forward to having her. So Duvet is trending for all the right reasons, and it's great to be on this conversation when you host a sex talk show trying to make other people's marriages better, and for 2 years you are still not taken, so hey, I'm here. We'll talk about all that. But Duvet is doing great in Ghana.
Awesome. And do you think that we talk enough about those issues? I think we're very kind of we don't like to talk about those issues. Do you find it difficult getting guests?
Oh yeah, I mean, every now and then people want great information, but those who have the information are not forthcoming with the information. So they know it, they can talk about it, they can educate. But okay, so how am I going to sit on a sex talk show and late now? What is somebody? And meanwhile, Dentaa has been having lots of sex. She has 4 children to that effect, right? Yet nobody wants to think about it like that. Yes,
well, I just did. Thank you.
Yeah. So everybody's having sex in Ghana. Nobody wants to talk about sex. Can you imagine? And it's only because of sex that we are all existing. Our parents actually did it. They did it, Lydia. Can you imagine?
Wow.
It's true. It's one of those things that we shy away from talking about, really. It's one of those things that we shy away from talking about. But yeah, Chrissy, if you can bring on my next 2 guests for me, that would be fantastic. Let me see if Pamela and Gifty is here, or Nanama McBrown. Okay, hi Pamela.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. And Ivy.
Hi.
Sister Ivy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you all for joining me. And we will have our other 2 guests coming on shortly. But you know, this conversation of societal pressures of being an African woman, marriage, career, children, and dating. When we were growing up, our parents were always like, don't get a boyfriend. You know, like I always hear my mom like trying to stop me from getting a boyfriend. Did that happen to you? Or was it just me?
Yeah.
They never wanted you to bring a boy home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there comes a certain stage, they're like, where is the boy? Where is the boy? And you know, so you know, why do you think being single is such a stigmatized phenomenon in our community? And I'll start with Lydia.
Oh wow, I'm still, trying to figure the answer to that, because it's something I do not, understand. I always tell people that when I started my career about 17 years ago, I was in my early 20s, still trying to figure life out and relationships. And one of my first interviews ended with, "So, who is the man in your life?" Initially it felt like it was just one of those questions and I didn't mind. But then I realized after the, 4th, 5th, interview, it was always about reporters seeing more interest. I mean, I could say all these amazing things and it would always end with, "Who's the man in your life? Do you want to get married someday? When are you getting married?" So I don't know where, it for us in the industry, it comes for maybe curiosity, but then you realize beyond being an entertainer in your personal life, it seems to be the one thing people are interested in. You could, save the world, and the interview will end with, "So, when are you getting married? Or why don't you have any kids?" And maybe through this conversation, I will be enlightened as to why it seems to be something that, society is so keen on, especially when it comes to the African woman.
Nancy, do you have anything to add to that?
All right, thank you. So I think that when we went through, the normal Ghanaian, high school education. In life skills, we study the stages of life, okay, where you are born and you grow up and then you get married and then eventually you die. These are the three most important stages of a human being's life as far as we were taught in school. Yes, and so we all came with the impression that yes, you are born, you grow up to get married and then have children, then you die. But the major thing is be born, get married, and then die. And so if this process does not go according to how the society has been oriented to understand, they feel that your life is not complete. And I thank God that you are having this conversation, that sometimes, especially for us, the women, being married is not absolutely up to us. And even if it's up to us, if the person wishes to get married, I mean, it's for her to choose the kind of person that she really wants to be with. I mean, for you to have another human being who is the most important person next to you, it's not easy. And you just cannot choose any person at all. But most of the time, people are not bothered. Society is not bothered about exactly who you want, who you deserve, who would make you happy. All they want you to do is just get married. Follow the norm. You cannot be that exception. And they would not let you breathe. I mean, it's a societal thing, but now that we have started having such conversations, I think that we all would breathe. I mean, we all would breathe. It's nice if you find that awesome person who adores you and who you love everything about. Even when you are angry with them, you are in love with them. That way you can get married. But this person you get angry with and you don't want to see his face again. Do you still want to spend the rest of your life with such a person? We should, be considerate. We should be considerate and understand that sometimes we expect life to go a certain way, but it usually doesn't always go how we expect it to be. Being married is a wonderful thing if the person wants to be, but if it's not happening for the person, do not stigmatize. And if it's not working for the person, just understand that they know exactly what they want for themselves. You can't love people more than they love themselves. You just can't.
Lydia, do you no. Anna, do you agree with that statement? And is it something that is also happening in Kenya to our brothers and sisters, to our sisters in Kenya? Anne, can you hear me? Oh, I think I'm losing her. Pamela, what has been your experience with this?
So I actually echo everything that Nancy says. So I think that the emphasis when somebody is single and isn't married, I think there's a lot of emphasis on when is it happening? Where is the man? Have you turned up again at another event? No man. Where's the child? And I think those questions are all very personal questions, which other than my mother and my father, really isn't anyone else's business, My close family, no, I don't really think people should be coming and asking those questions. You have no idea what that person is doing and what that person's own life goals are. And I think that what happens in our society is that there is a strong emphasis on marriage and children, which I don't think is necessarily a negative thing in itself, but I think that the emphasis is simply on having the marriage and the children just for the sake of your daughter being able to say she's married, or your sister being able to say she's married, or your son or your niece, I think is the wrong thing. I think that the idea of marriage is multifaceted, and there are many things you can get out of creating a union with another person. Part of this should be some personal development, spiritual development. You're going to be spending with this person, and you're going to be going on a journey with that person. So you need to find the right person to do that with. That may not happen when you're 22, it might not happen when you're 27, it might not happen when you're 37. In which case, I think it's important that people not rush into something like this in order to just be able to say, I've got the wedding ring. If you're religious, marriage is a covenant before God. And so it's something that has a lot of significance to it as well as being an expression of your love for another person. So I don't think these are things that you can rush through in order to just be able to have the wedding and then be able to have the title of Mrs. I think these are things that take time for you to meet the right person, to find out whether that person has the same values and principles as you do, and whether you can make a relationship work long term. I don't think anyone meets somebody and gets engaged to them and thinks, I'm going to be in this marriage for 5 years. You obviously have a view of this being a long-term thing. And in order to get to that point where you meet somebody that you can build with for decades and for life and to have children with, I think you need to really approach this with some caution and with you're thinking about it quite deeply. And that's why, for me, I have not rushed into anything with people that I've met because they weren't right for me. And it means that I keep on getting the questions at all the family events. I keep on getting people phoning my mum going, what's going on with Pam? It's all part of the pressure, but I have to quiet the noise and focus on my journey and my search. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to die. If it happens, it's great. So I think that people need to take the pressure off and just recognize that people are going through their own particular journeys and you have no idea what those particular journeys are. And you need to be confident of that, because this is not something that is a small, insignificant step that people are wanting to take.
Absolutely. Ivy, what are your views on marriage? And do you think that, marriage is a source of happiness?
I think that we have to all learn to find our own source of happiness, because if you go into marriage and you're not happy, you're bringing an unhappy person into a marriage. And then when a marriage falls apart, if you were unhappy in the beginning, you can't expect that marriage is going to turn you into a happy person. I do believe that marriage is a wonderful thing for people. It's wonderful when you can find the right person that you are compatible with, that you can be a life partner with. I think I want to be married one day, but I also don't want to just marry somebody because everyone says you have to get married by a certain time in your life. There's so much pressure for women in general. But I find that the context of being in Ghana, it's been a more polarizing experience than when I was living in Canada, because I am Ghanaian, but I grew up in Canada, moved back to Ghana, and I didn't experience some of the things my friends tell me about growing up, where their mom's telling them don't have a boyfriend. I did not experience that from my mom in Canada, but I have other Ghanaian friends whose moms were always that way. My mom was always just telling me, don't bring a Nigerian man home. And that was just because of the thought process of the Ghana versus Nigeria rivalry that happens. And I think it also had to do with when the Ghanaians got tossed out of Nigeria. So she kind of had that on her mind as well. But she didn't tell me not to have a boyfriend. But now she's like, when are you getting married? Now the questions are, what's going on? And not only from her, but there's other people that I find perfect strangers. I was in a taxi some time ago, and the taxi driver, he was like, oh, what are you, 25? And I'm just like, if you only knew my real age. He's like, you're 25, you should be married by now. I see you're not wearing a ring. So that means you don't have a husband. You need to have a husband. If you don't have a husband, you're not going to have a good life. That's what a taxi driver that I don't even know is already looking at my hand if there's a ring and saying that I need to be married, without knowing anything about me. I think one of you made a comment earlier. I don't see her in the stream anymore, but she was talking about how this pressure that we have, oh, that's it, Nancy. Yeah, the pressure that we have on marriage. Marriage is a beautiful thing, but I don't think we should fall in for pressure.
Thank you for that, Nancy. Anne, why do you think women tend to have more pressure to get married in society than men?
What I think, women get a lot of pressure because sometimes you find that like a woman has a good job, is earning a lot of money, and you see men have so much competition, and once they see that, they tend to back off. They don't believe that between a woman and a man, there's no way that a woman is going to earn more money than a man. So for them, it's slightly different. I don't know why, but as Ivy said, I believe in marriage, but let's be honest, the generation have changed. Right now, things are different. We meet so many men that don't want to commit, for one. So many men come to you, they're married, and they don't want to tell you that they're married. So many things have changed that, I mean, it's like sometimes people get married and they divorce. Personally, I have a sister, sorry to say, that happened to her. And for me, it's okay, it kind of scared me towards marriage. I don't know why. Probably because I saw it with my own eyes. But I believe there's a light at the end of a tunnel, and I'm not going to rush. The fact that I'm not married doesn't mean that it's an achievement. Let me say that. I'm not saying it's wrong. In the end, I want to have kids, but I believe in the right time. It might be my, 30s, early 30s. It can be 60s, but I believe that the right time will come.
The right time will surely come. Lydia, why do you think there's more pressure on us women than the men?
I mean, I think it just boils down to
Pressure.
how. Okay, which of the Lydia? Me. Okay, all right. I think it's just really how our society is structured. Right from childhood, we are made to believe that as Nancy said, in life skill, and I love that she brought that up, because it takes me back to some of the things that we are taught in school, our conditioning. Like your sole purpose is to come into this world, procreate, and die. I don't like the die parts. And so you find that a lot of people, they don't realize there are in-betweens in there. They don't realize that not everybody will probably get married, not everybody will have children. It becomes this badge of achievement, as well. Because for a woman, your worth becomes tied to, how fertile you are, how many children you are, if you're married, and who you're married to. As society, we've not been conditioned to see women as, individual beings, who have their own, road mapped out for them. So if you're a woman and you're not married and you're not conforming to society, you're seen as an outcast of some sort. So when people see you, I mean, I will tell you this. Just about a few weeks ago, I was at an engagement and I met this lady. And she sat in my car. Mind you, she's not, I mean, she probably knew me when I was a kid, but we've not had any conversation in almost 30 years plus. She sits in my car, and the first thing she says is, you have to marry. And I'm like, I'm blown away, because I don't know you. You don't know my life. You don't know the things I'm going through. But that's the first thing, you know, she you have not seen me in more than 30 years. There was no talk of, you know, my achievements or anything. And it usually I'm triggered to respond rudely, but because she was kind of family, I said that's just not my journey. I mean, if it happens, fine. But you know, I've just not been brought up. Thank God for my parents. I've just never had that pressure from my mom and my dad. If anything, they are more focused on I need you to be happy. So, but here's the interesting thing that happened after. When I said that, when I said my parents are okay, she was like, okay, so long as your parents are okay, then fine. So then I find out that she was married, her husband left her and traveled overseas, and for almost 20 years she didn't see this man. And he came then and you know, this is the sad part, but the next time she saw him, he was in a body bag. And it just got me thinking. And my mom said something very, you know, important. She said, when you see these kinds of people, you don't react like others because they don't even know what they're saying. They feel like it's what they should say. They don't pause to even, you know, process the things that they are saying to you because they feel like, you know, I don't think she's even processed what she has gone through in her own, you know, life. All she knows is you're single, you're not married, you know, at least I get to say that I'm married. It doesn't matter how good or bad, you know, the marriage goes. And then for us, you know, I like to call myself a millennial, even though people don't like that. For us, we also coming from, we have to understand that culturally things have changed. You know, my parents, you know, was arranged, you know, from the same, you know, clan and everything. We are more lovers. You know, it's beyond, you know, having children. We want to fall in love. We want to build a life with somebody. So we happen to be the generation that are going through that progression of, you know, beyond having, you know, children and all of that. You want a life, you know, partner. So there are all of these multi-layered, you know, things that we are all dealing with, you know, at once. And it just makes it a lot. So we are figuring it out. And that's why with conversations like this are important, because we learn from each other, and hopefully other people appreciate, you know, the damaging effects of these kinds of pressures.
Yeah, absolutely. And then do you think that there's a particular age bracket that they expect us to have a child by?
Yeah. This is to me too, right? I'm sorry. I was one of those kids in class, like I needed to raise my hand all the time. The other thing about pressure too is realistically, because of children, you know, we cannot. It's one of these uncomfortable conversations, but it is what it is. That, you know, there's a lot of pressure on you. You'll find that if you've had a child, the pressure on you to get married is not as, you know, much as if you don't have children. So because of the age limit when it comes to, you know, having children, even though thank God for technology, we're able to have children. You can, you know, surrogacy, you know, IVF, and even adoption. Those are options that thank God they're out there. But people focus also on the age you have. I will tell you, one time I came out of a very serious, you know, surgery. I don't usually talk about these things, and I picked my phone, and the first message that popped up on, you know, social media was like, this girl's she's gonna hit menopause without having children, you know. So we are, on one hand, we have.
And the thing is, Lydia, but how does that make you feel? I think it's really important for us to share how that makes a woman feel.
It hurts, you know. You go through the motions because you don't want to be hurt, because if the person is trying to hurt you, you feel like you are given into that desire to hurt you. So on one hand, you really don't want them to, you don't want to give them the satisfaction. But on the other hand, you're human, because here I was after major surgery, you know, on my bed. I know what I had been through, you know. I didn't have as many people around me. It was just, you know, after surgery, it's pretty much just you. And you pick up your phone because you're bored, you know, you can't really do much. And the first thing you see is someone talking about something that you may have had surgery because of, you know, people are just insensitive, and so it hurts. And then, you know, and it's like the more you badger the person, the less attractive that thing you're trying to get the person to do is. You know, because I've told everybody knows, I mean, I'm very private when it comes to my relationship, because I don't want to give anybody the satisfaction of discussing my relationship and say, oh, finally, you know, or okay, we pressured her. So it becomes this internal battle you're constantly going through, because there's what you are suffering and battling silently, and then there's what people are trying to, you know, force you to do without understanding, you know, your circumstances. And then there's the part where you don't want to give them the satisfaction. So I will clap back, but then I tell you, there are days when I wake up and I am, you know, I'm probably one of the happiest people you ever meet. I'm always happy. I try. And I wake up and I'm looking around and I know what I've been through. My business is doing well, you know. And then I go online and the first thing someone says is, well, you might have all of this, but you're nothing because you're not married. So then I look back at my journey and all the pain and suffering and, you know, homelessness and all of those things. And it makes you feel like it was all for nothing. And it hurts. It really hurts. But then when you cave, you're giving them the satisfaction. So do you show emotion and make them happy, or you fight it? But on the other hand, you want them to see that, hey, this is hurting me. So it's a lot. It really is. And these conversations are tough to have because you never know what people are going to take and do with it.
You're absolutely right. And Nancy, I mean, I know that you have a daughter. Has there been pressure for you to even have a second one, or have people been asking you, you know, when are you getting married? And how does that make you feel as a woman?
Fortunately or unfortunately, I have been married before. I tried getting married and the marriage didn't last for 1 year, and they wouldn't let me be because the marriage couldn't last for a year. So Lydia, they will talk anyway.
Yeah.
And out of that marriage, I couldn't have a child. And I had a child after the divorce with someone else whom I'm not married to. And in fact, one very popular man in Ghana actually looked at me and said, Namika, so you're a responsible woman. Pa. In other words, I thought you were a responsible woman. How can you have a child out of wedlock? Because I was speaking for him at his conferences and he thought he didn't know my journey. He didn't know that I had even tried being married and it didn't work out and why I came out or whatever. People just love to talk. And one of the things that I realized is that people don't want to see that you are happy. Most of the time, they don't want to see that you are comfortable, that you accept that you have done well in other aspects of your lives, and you have accepted that there are things that you do not have control over. And so you will leave that to divinity. And then you are getting on happily enjoying the things that you have been able to achieve. Most of the time, people do not want to see that. And so whenever you are tempted to be happy, or you look happy, or you look like you are fulfilled, somebody's job is to remind you of the things that you lack. And that is where we have to be strong. And look, I mean, anytime I look at my daughter, she is beautiful. She's like sunshine, her energy. I forget about my worries. I mean, you cannot, you forget. You don't care whether you are raising a husband, you're raising her with a husband or not, having a man in your life or not. And Dentaa, my daughter is 4 ending of this month, and they're asking me, when you're sure set time as also and then they go further to ask you, they go further to ask you, but your daughter is so beautiful, so why don't you have another with the same man? Suggesting the decisions that you have to even make. Yes. And like I was saying when we commenced the conversation, being a host of Duvet, a sex talk show, always giving support to the married couples. And hey, so if you know all of this, how come you've been hosting this show for 2 years and you still don't have a husband of your own? And right now, maybe for branding purposes, I'd have to find some man and have him put a ring on my finger just for branding purposes. And you see, when the pressure becomes so bad, that is what you end up doing. doing what pleases the masses, but not what your soul is satisfied. People should be sensitive. I mean, companionship is beautiful. Who doesn't want to be loved and adored? I mean, my situation is even critical because Dentaa, I think like a Western woman and I also think like a traditional woman. So I want to have my career intact. And I still want that 100%, I mean, traditional, responsible man. So I don't belong in the school of thoughts that 50-50 or you bring this, I bring that. You are the husband, be the man. So that is why we are probably struggling to get it. Yeah, mine is mine. Yeah. So you see, we all have our preferences and we want to be honest, we want to be faithful. Lydia will tell you there are too many sisters in the industries enduring their marriage instead of enjoying it. And they come on social media and they are all pretense. I know it. They are pretending. And that is not the kind of life that we want. Some of us want authentic lives, real lives. I adore him. He adores me. I will stick with him. He will stick with me and we'll make the journey together. So yes, I want to be married. I want to be married too. But I want to be married to the right person. And I want to be happily married, not just married.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Anne, I know you mentioned about your sister. Your sister's got a daughter. When your sister had the child, was there then, another pressure put on yourself to also, have a child?
I can't hear.
Yeah, can you hear us?
I can't even hear.
Can you hear?
Okay, I'll say that again.
I said, when your sister, you've got an older sister, your sister had a child. Were there pressures put on yourself also to then have a child?
Actually, no. There was no pressure on my side because when she got her daughter, I was still a little bit young. When she got, actually the first kid was a boy.
Okay.
The daughter came in after. So when she got her son, there was no pressure because I was still, actually, you know what I've gone through, Dentaa. I was unwell for quite a long time. Before my surgery, I was not really okay. I was in and out of the hospital. So honestly, around that time, I wasn't thinking about commitment. I wasn't thinking about marriage. For me, it was about my health first. So at that time, everyone was worried about me getting better, but about anything to do with marriage, commitment, not really. So I haven't really had that from my parents or from my sisters. For me, they always tell me, do what you feel is right. Whatever time you want to get married, it's up to you at the end of the day.
And do you think also that it's more of society than your parents actually pushing you to get married?
Yes, exactly. I have friends who are married. Sorry, I have a few friends who are married, and they would really pressure me like, Lydia, oh, I'm getting married. Maybe you're gonna get married the next year. I want to introduce you to someone. As in, I don't get them from my family, but I get that so much from my friends, and that's what made me, just cut out too much friendship with women, with men, because they give me pressure left, right, center. Oh, Lydia, you need to get a baby. Lydia, your age is catching up. You need to get a baby when you're young. You can't get a baby when you're old. You never know. Maybe you're not going to be pregnant. As in, the pressure is too much outside than the people who are actually close or around you.
And Lydia, what are some of the maybe comments, if you don't mind sharing, some of the comments that you've had from family members or friends that have been saying, Ivy, when are you getting married?
That pressure comes. I find that pressure is more from society than from my immediate family. So more from perfect strangers. I've had insults sent to me in my inbox through my website, people insulting me because I am not married and I don't have kids, and what's wrong with me, that you're an attractive woman. I don't understand why you're not married. There must be something wrong with you because you're not married yet. Those kinds of things. And then also someone who said, oh, you're going to brainwash our African women into thinking that they should be independent and not marrying people because you people who came from abroad, you bring this idea that women shouldn't marry. And it's like, I am not bringing an idea to say don't get married. I'm not a person who's against marriage. I'm against marrying the wrong person just because society is telling you should get married. I know people who are not happy. Like, I know someone who she's been married for many years. She has a couple of children, and she's told me she dislikes her husband. She doesn't like him. She does not like her husband. She said the only good thing that came out of it is that she has children, you know, and the only reason why she married was because all of the women in her life, you know, between her mom and her aunts and, you know, grandmothers and like just all these women are saying, you must hurry up and find a husband. So she just went ahead and she found the person who she said was the one guy who actually asked her, and she married him. And now she's not happy. And I can't even imagine being at work all day and coming home and that the person you're coming home to, you don't even like them. That I don't want that. I want to know that the man I marry is my partner for life. He's my ride or die. He supports me in what I do. I support him in what he does. We make decisions together as partners. When he wants to come up with a business idea or something, he wants to come and talk to me and discuss it. We discuss it with each other. If I have an idea, I go to him. We discuss it with each other. I want us to be a partnership. I don't want to be in a situation where it's just done because we want society to think we're okay. You know, I have friends getting divorced. You know, when the pandemic started, I know people who've told me they're getting a divorce because they were stuck in the house during lockdown with this person, and they're really like, I hate this person. You know, and so for me, I think marriage is beautiful. As I've always said, I want to get married. It's got to be with the right person. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened by now, but eventually, if it's going to happen, like Lydia said, if it's going to happen, wonderful. If it doesn't, then I have to find my way of living my life and being happy and content with what I can do, and what my purpose is on this earth.
Absolutely. Pam, do you think African men are generally intimidated by strong, bold African women, especially someone like yourself who's in the corporate world doing so well as a leader? Do you think that they're intimidated by us?
I don't think the intimidation is only limited to African men. I think it's men of all backgrounds, if I'm honest. I think that people that find strong, independent women a threat will often either self-select themselves out, so they will back out of the situation. However they're going to do that, whether they're ghosting you or whether they make life difficult, so you end up dumping them. They kind of self-select out, or you end up with somebody who then resents you for what it is that you're bringing to the table, and then the sly comments start, and then the behavior changes. I personally don't have time for that. That's not something that I would want. And I think you need to be met by somebody who not only appreciates the journey that you've been through, whether that is your career or things that you've done, and actually respects all the things that you bring to the table, because that's the essence of a true partnership. Your partner should be your biggest fan. So if this person doesn't respect or resent you for what you have done in your life prior to meeting them, you shouldn't be with that person.
Lydia, do you think that they are intimidated by you being on the screen? You know, do you think that some men already think that, you know, she's already going out with someone, and so it's difficult for them to approach you?
I think it boils down to the kind of men and how they were raised. a lot of men are raised in a way that they want women to need them. And so when they feel like you don't, then they feel, keyword here, that you don't necessarily need them, um, it exposes some insecurities in them. I never apologize for how hard I work or where I am. And I've always said I'm not going to lower my standards for anybody. If you're the kind of man who feels like I have to cower to make you feel good about yourself, then it's not a problem. Because I've met men. The funny thing is, we meet men who are way richer than us, and we are not intimidated. When I meet a man who is way richer, I'm inspired. I'm like, I want to get with that. You understand? But I think it's how men are raised, and it's how they're conditioned. I keep talking about conditioning because we can speak about it all we want, but the reality is we've all been conditioned a certain way. We've all been raised a certain way based on we've all had different experiences. So if you're approached by a man, I've used to have that struggle where I'll meet a guy, everything is great, and then I'm always, my mind is working like a million times, like, okay, ooh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that for my business. And suddenly, if there are people who cannot appreciate where you're going, they try to start to put you down, and it starts with little comments. And my parents have actually warned me against that. I mean, God bless my parents, but their greatest fear is for me to end up with someone who want to dim my light so they can shine, because I'm bright like a diamond. So you're either going to come in my life and appreciate how bright I am, or you're going to take your respectable position. And they are amazing. I've dated amazing. It may not have ended up well, but I have dated great guys who have supported my dreams, who are proud of who I am. So because I had this conversation yesterday with someone who said, women have such high standards. Sometimes you need to lower it a bit. I'm like, yourself. As I'm sitting here, there's Ajwa, there's Akosia. You could have gone for her, but you saw me and wanted all of this, right? But then you want to shape, this. It's very confusing. I feel like we need to have these, very blunt, honest conversations, because I was raised in a home where I look at my brothers, and they cook, they clean, pretty much raising their children, changing diapers, doing all of these things is how they were raised. When they meet women who have money, they're like, wow, okay, now I want a woman like that because she seems to know where she's going, with her life. I should be seen as an asset and not someone that intimidates you. If I do, that is your insecurity. Get therapy, talk to your parents and fix it. But it's not my problem. And people will say, well, then the pool is small. I'm like, fantastic, because I don't like mass production anyway. I want, the see Nancy give it to Nancy and I will get along. But it's something I've had to learn, because when you're it's like women can't have it all. You're successful, you're intimidating. So when you meet, I was living in this amazing place, and everybody would tell me that this place intimidates guys. It's hard. I'm like, when I come to your house and you have a pool, I'm like, this is where I want to live. I'm not out here feeling like inadequate because you have more than me. I'm excited because I'm thinking of how many places I can go with you and how I can grow with you. So it boils down to how men are conditioned. They have to feel, superior. They're always worried about women having money. And there's a control factor that comes in it, because they feel like if you're a woman who has way more money than them, if you're a woman who's confident and, knows where her life is going, they cannot control you. But the question is, are you here to love me or control me? So I don't have any time for men who feel intimidated, by me at all, because I'm not your taste. Go for the one that's, is your taste, and then you can do that with that person. But we really need to hit on how guys, I didn't appreciate how my parents raised me and my brothers onto growing up. I realized that it was such a big thing. I mean, and the thing is, you will have daughters, and you raise daughters to go out there and conquer the world. You know, you can be anything you want to be, Lydia. You can, be president someday, and then you get there, and then in encouraging women to be anything they want to be, you also tell them that, well, you can be a lot, but you cannot be too much, because you're packaging yourself, for a man. So I would rather a man who sees me as an asset and someone he can build an empire with, than someone who is intimidated by all the hard work, I have put in.
That is so important. Can I comment on something that someone had said in the comments? When I was speaking earlier, someone named Ezekiel said that, how am I going to know that I'm marrying the perfect guy? Now, when I talk about wanting to find the right person, I'm not saying the person has to be perfect. And I think a lot of men have to understand that we're not necessarily looking for someone who's perfect, because we as human beings, we're not perfect. We're simply looking for somebody who is the right compatible person for you that you can have a life partnership with. And a lot of the times, I think we women, and men do this too, you don't pay attention to the red flags. And then people end up marrying somebody that doesn't work out with, because something they may have seen early on, they didn't take it seriously. Then they got married. And then that thing that was to them just no big deal in the beginning, now they realize, oh, I should have really paid attention to this. So things like when Lydia mentioned, if the person's dimming your light, if they're doing that in the beginning of the relationship, you know that this is only going to get worse. Don't think you can change that person. Don't ever go into it thinking, I'm going to change this person. Because what I always ask myself when I start, spending time with someone is, can I handle it if this person was this way for the rest of my life? And if the answer is no, I should not continue dating them, because they might never change. And I can't expect them to change. There might be something about me they don't like, and I don't expect them to try to change me either. So, but navigating the dating landscape as you get older, I find in Ghana has been a challenge, because Anna mentioned about you could be dating someone, and she's in Kenya, mentioned you could be dating someone and find out they're married. And that is so common in Ghana. Like so common. I was at an event some time ago, maybe a year ago, and it was a birthday party. And this guy, we were talking, I thought, oh, he seems really cool, but it was like a buffet style party. So he's holding the plate with his food. So I don't see that he has a ring at the time. He's like holding his plate of food, and we're talking and flirtatious and all that. And then we sit down. The whole time he's holding the plate like this, so you never see the ring. And we finish eating. I'm like, oh, this guy just seems really cool. And then all of a sudden, it's time to like put the empty plate down. And then all of a sudden I see the ring. I'm like, oh, there's a ring. Okay. Not talking to him. No more flirtation. And so I move along to go meet up my friend in the backyard of the house where they had a DJ playing music, and I'm dancing. The guy comes up to me and he's like this, coming up to me like this. And then all of a sudden, the ring is gone. The ring that was there is gone. I'm like, And then he's like, you're so beautiful. I want us to get to know each other. Let's exchange contacts so we can go out sometime. And because I had seen the ring before, even though he took it off now, I said, oh, you want to take me out? Me, you, and your wife? And he was like, I was like, yeah, you were wearing a ring just 20 minutes ago. Where's the ring? Oh, me and my wife are having problems. I said, between the time you got me eating food to walking to this, now you have problems? No, no. So it's like
good.
That's what so many of us are contending with.
But if single men are hard to find.
He should have met me, because I actually believe in polygamy. And so I would have asked him, no problem. If you're having challenges, I need to join a happy couple. So I'm coming in to join you both. So you'd have two families.
If the wife is like, hey, listen,
understand
your wife. Let's have this conversation. There's polyamory.
Yes.
There's polygamy.
Of course.
It's
of course.
2020.
20. Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Lydia was talking about the Dentaa was asking about the confidence of Ghanaian men.
Nancy, do you think
come again? Hello, Dentaa.
No, go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to add on to, the confidence of, especially African Ghanaian men. I just want to massage your egos tonight. I want to be kind to all of you watching us live. Listen, we are all women and we need men. No matter how far a woman goes, she needs a lover. There is a need for somebody that loves and adores her. So if you feel it, if it's genuine, go to them. It's better for you to come to us, for us to say, no, we are not interested, than to just sit afar off and assume all manner of things. It's so unhealthy that women in certain careers are placed in a certain box, the unmarriageable box, the unsubmitting box. African men are always thinking, hey, Oba, a woman that's on television, a media person, I know my rights. That's the expression that really kills and hurts my soul. That the person is on television, she knows her right. Shouldn't she know her rights? Should she just, look unconcerned when she is being abused? Why would you want a woman who doesn't even love herself? If somebody doesn't love herself, how can she love you appropriately? Just as you deserve to be loved. So you see, we need men, but we need quality men. We need men with the right mind, the right attitude, who would come in, give us the support, push us to where we want to be. And sometimes, let me be honest with you guys, I told you I'm massaging your egos. Sometimes you are not as rich as you are assuming. Yes, sometimes the career makes us live very flashy lifestyle.
Nancy,
and truthfully,
I don't like that.
I have to be kind. I have to be kind to them so that they understand. Sometimes the cars we are driving are $1 million, probably, but it's probably a brand ambassador deal. I didn't actually buy it. So don't be intimidated. Have the confidence. Come around. Allow us to bounce you. Allow us to bounce you. It also, massage our own egos, and then eventually we'll find the right person and we'll deal with them.
No, do you know what? And I think that's a really important part. Women in the media are kind of being boxed. Okay, boxed into this. They're in the media, they're on the spotlight, and so they're unapproachable, and they have their own money, and so they don't need the man. And I think that comes with a lot of pressure. And Nancy, so I think what you touched on, so do you think that sometimes tell us about the career path and how that can also affect how you are approached?
Yeah, that's very true. As a presenter or probably as an actress, a person on the silver screen, people don't know that the things that you even project are produced, and that somebody is producing you, and somebody is giving you ideas, enhancing what you already have. So people are tricked into believing that all they see on TV is all that you are. At the moment, it's a bit I am struggling to live a life where I have to remind people every day that I'm a woman. I'm not a sex object. Just because I host a sex talk show doesn't mean that you ask me, Nancy, how are you doing? And the next thing you ask me is my favorite sex position. And unhealthily, that is how they relate to us, depending on what you do. And that is not right, because there is more to Miss Nancy. There is more to me than just being on TV hosting duvet. I'm a professional style coach. I project brands positively. I do a whole lot. I write. And so if you're just going to put me in the duvet box, you are not being fair. If you're just going to judge Lydia by a certain character that she did in a movie, and she was so great at it, just thinking that this is exactly who she is, this is unfair and this is unkind. And so they should take us out of the box, come close and experience us. Look at Dentaa. Dentaa is huge. Dentaa is huge in Ghana and beyond. Yet she's a great mother and a great wife. So we can be it. We can be all that. So allow us to prove to you that we are. But if you're going to sit behind the doors and not come close enough, that would be your problem. Sister, we'll not kill ourselves, will you? We don't want to kill ourselves. No. We wouldn't. Yeah.
Absolutely not. And then I think the career path has also affected you in any way.
I think it has. It has. This whole, I mean, Dental, be honest. I don't know if you've noticed the trend, especially in Ghana, how long it takes for people in the media, people on television, actors, I mean, especially the actresses, to get married. You realize that most of them do not get married too early. And when they get married and they are confident enough to wait for the right person at the right time, you see how happy they are. I want to talk about our sister Gifty Auntie. Sometimes people don't get it. She's happily married. She has a daughter and she's almost always about her daughter and her husband. She took her time, found that person, and she's happily projecting it. You understand? So when you take your time, that is what happens. But indeed, the career path has been a struggle for us. I mean, that's the thing. There is this thing, and unfortunately, these bloggers are not doing us any good. They tag us anyhow, put all of us in a box. It's not all of us that are living certain lifestyles. It's not all of us that wants every negative publicity. It's not everybody that wants to wake up with their name in the news for good or bad. But yet they are putting all of us together. And I think that it's high time people, even bloggers, publicists, they take their time to know individuals, write about them appropriately, telling the world who they really are, and not just putting us in a box.
Okay. Nancy, I want to touch up, you said something about you also believe in polygamy. Can you expand on that? What is that?
Okay.
And, you know, why is it that you believe in that?
Okay, so Dental, I was brought up in a polygamous family. My background, I lived with my grandfather who had 2 wives. Those 2 wives were not our maternal grandmother. They were my mother's stepmothers. Yes, but my mother's mother was not part of the family. So our grandfather and his 2 wives, and he had children with other women who were not part of our home. But yet I came from the home where my uncles, who were my mother's, brothers, were so nice and kind, and we have a great family. Now I'll tell you what, one of my step grandmothers never had a child. She's over 70 years old. She's being catered for by her rivals' children. My grandfather is dead. These 2 women are still living together. People that do not know them think that they are sisters. So somebody may come from a very horrible polygamous background, but I came from a great polygamous home where there was love. My grandfather was adored. When he sneezes, both women would respond, "Enkwa," which means good health or good life or healthy life. They were all in love. And the man is dead and gone, and the younger rival is still taking care of the older rival, even though she didn't have any child of her own. So for me, it's love and understanding that really matters. And a man, you love a man, but he's not your property. As much as he loved you, he can love another person. But it's not all people. There are men that even when you dash them another wife, they will pay you and tell you that please take this woman away. But there are men who can never be faithful to one woman. They need other women in their lives. And I think that if Dental, let's be honest, if you're a single woman and you have dated a married man for more than 2 years and you say you do not believe in polygamy, you are not smart for me. You knew the man was married, you were attaching on it. I mean, the current word is what? Entanglement. You know that the man is married, and you get into an entanglement for 2 years and you are done, and you say that you don't believe in polygamy. He was with his wife and he was with you and you were happy. Why don't you think that he should do the needful by making you the other wife? I actually do not even believe in second and third wife. I believe in the other wife. He has a wife and you are the other wife. I am not jealous because it wasn't like I was standing there and the other woman was standing there and he chose her over me and later came for me. When he met there, I was not there. Yes, and so that's my opinion. I have experienced a great polygamous home. Oh yeah, you would.
Oh no! I actually have no comments. Yeah, please let Pam.
Yes.
I have a question because I need to ask this so that we can address both sides of the question. So, to take it the other way, do you believe in polyandry, where a woman can have several husbands?
No, I personally do not. I personally do not, because I personally do not have a need for more than one man in my life. Other people may. You understand? What you can live with is what you, yes, when I'm satisfied with my man, one man. I cannot psychologically, mentally, emotionally, I cannot keep two people in my mind or in my heart. So I cannot do that. So if other people can do that, they are free to do that. They are free to do that. I don't judge people's opinions, but I do not think that I want to keep two men. I mean, one man alone is enough. It is enough.
I think that if we're talking about accepting polygamous situations, I think it's only fair that you allow polyandry personally.
Of course.
That's my.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't judge people who want more than one man in their lives. No, not at all. It's if you can take it, my sister, go for it.
I really appreciate that you touched on that.
I could not be in a polygamous marriage. I could not. I prefer, for myself, I prefer a monogamous relationship. But I do know, I know a man in Accra, in the Kolegono area, and he's in a polygamous marriage. He said he has 5 wives.
Add his name.
Wow.
And he has children. You said I must add his name?
I'm like, I wonder who I know who lives.
Oh God.
And he said that the way that he did it was the first wife, he introduced the next one to the first one for approval before it happened, and so on and so on. So for them, it works for them. For me, I personally, it's not for me. And I feel that particularly in Ghana, where under the laws, under the government laws, it recognizes the monogamous Christian single one woman, one man marriage. I do know that culturally there are some areas where people practice polygamy. I think that it's important that if a man wants to have a polygamous relationship, he needs to be upfront with the woman. Don't pretend like you want to marry one woman and have her your whole life. And then next thing you know, you have side chicks and side girlfriends. If you're honest with her upfront, like I know somebody who he told his wife when he married her, he is not a monogamous woman. Now he's not a monogamous man. So his wife knows that. So now she knows what she got herself into, and she made the decision knowing. But when you deceive and pretend like you want to be in a monogamous marriage and you marry someone and then you're cheating with them, I think that's not right at all. You didn't give that person a chance to say, yes, I'm willing to handle this, or no, this is not what I want. And for me, that's the challenge navigating around here, is because there are people who think that it's okay. And for me, it's not okay for me. I know what I need, and I don't need to be one of many women in the relationship.
Can I just say something? I mean, Nancy, I really appreciate that, you went there. I believe in polygamy. I won't practice it. It's not something I'm comfortable with. But I wish more people would be honest about the kinds of relationships they want to be in. And it also, forms parts of some of the struggles that we have. Ivy put it very aptly, like, be honest about the relationship you're looking for. Because a lot of these men do want to be in polygamous relationships, but you're not honest with their partners. So then if you're approaching somebody and the person, you're hiding your ring and all of those things, that's dishonesty. And I love that in 2020 people are now seeing that there are different types of relationships. There's polygamy, there's polyandry. I seen a guy who's gay but married, that's his life partner, so because we are not also honest about the kinds of things that we want. And I was trying to, I'm going to lead into this point when it comes to even marriage. Do you want to get married? Do you want children? People are not also honest about the things that they want in their life. I know people who never want to have children, but they feel they need to have it because it's something they need to take off, the box. I know women who are comfortable in polygamy. Believe it or not, there are people in this country who are, who practice polyandry. They are not very open, about it. So there are several types of relationships and things that you also want from your life, but it really boils down to you. Have you had that honest conversations with you? And I really, Nancy, like, thank you for going there, because not enough people are honest about what
They
they
are
want.
not.
I'm honest enough to know that it's something I cannot handle. I was not built emotionally to handle sharing
Handle
a
it.
man. Maybe I can be polyamorous. I don't know. I'm selfish, but then I don't like to
That's
share, but
you.
I can be greedy.
That's
Do you
you.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
So people
Mm-hmm.
are not honest with themselves in the kind of relationships they want, the kind of partners they want, where they want in their life. So again, on the issue of marriage, not enough women look in the mirror and really ask themselves, is this something you want? And even those who are honest about where they want to be, are you even confident enough to say, I don't want to get married? You know,
Mm-mm.
because there's a fear that comes with admitting that I probably never want to get married, because what is everybody going to think of me? You're going to be a cancer. Over the years, I've been doing a lot of research about my people, where I'm from. When you talked about your
My
step
grandparents.
grandparents,
Yeah.
I had a
Mm-hmm.
different experience. My grandmother, so I had like 3 or 4 grandmothers, but I knew very two.
Mm-hmm.
My grand
Mm-hmm.
aunts never had children,
Mm-hmm.
but my mother. She raised my mom, so my mom grew up not knowing who her mother was. And traditionally, where I was coming from, it wa- women didn't even stay with their husbands. Um, they would procreate, but they had their own. They're very independent,
Homes.
women.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you could not have children, their child was raised. The term, it takes a village. Really, it takes a village. My mother was probably in her 20s when she figured out that her aunt was actually her mom, but it didn't
Mom.
make a difference. So I always tell people I have 3 or 4 um, grandparents. Relationships are different depending on your tribe, depending on your religion, depending on your own experiences. We are not honest about the kind of relationships we want, and so if it morphs into these kinds of pressures we experience, and the decisions we make in our lives. But you go, Nancy. I pray that you the
Nancy, can you see
Yeah,
the question on the
if I get
screen for
my
you?
yes, I see Samuel Lasari asking how religion comes here. I'm a Christian. As far as I'm concerned, there is no part in my Bible that says that a man cannot have more than one wife, or it's ungodly for a man to have more than one wife. As far as I'm concerned, every great man, almost all the great men in the Bible, had more than one wife, number one. Number two, traditionally, the Bible says that God rules in the affairs of men. Okay, so God never came down to us and say that you take a bottle of schnapps and some money, give it to the girl's father and give him a cloth and he becomes your wife. No, the Bible never specifies these things, but because we have accepted it as our way of expressing love and marriage, God rules in that affair. So the moment that tradition or custom is made, God accepts that as a marriage. You understand? So what we want, what we, the society, accepts is what is godly in the eyes of God. So as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing in the Bible against the Bible. One of the apostles said that if you can be a man of one wife, and he says that a bishop should be a man of one wife, a bishop. That is what, and it was one of the apostles that made that suggestion. And so that is it. That is the truth. If you cannot do it, that is fine. We are traditionally Africans, and I like I said, I think traditionally also. So what my society, what I was exposed to, I never had any negativity as far as growing up in a polygamous home is concerned. So it's not something I can condemn. I may find, when I was married, I may find my own husband, who would not want to share, our home with any other person. That is great. But if I'm supposed to, go and if that day comes, I have no problem at all. So long as I'm in love and the right things are done. Yes.
Okay. So, who is the right person? Lydia, who is the right person? When do you know that the person is right? I think even at some point in your relationships, you have probably let go of a right person that now you're regretting. Who is that right person?
Yeah. You know, again, that's why you have to have these conversations with yourself. And so, I'm a very intense person. When people get to know me, they realize that, a lot of the things I see on it's not just social media. I'm a very deep thinker. It's just how I've been raised. My father is overly, analytical. We could discuss bread and dissect the bread, and before you know, we have empathy, for the bread. So when I meet people, I always pay attention to what you're not saying. There's what you're telling me, but I'm listening to what you're not telling me. And it always slips. So for me, I know where I want to go in my life, and ultimately respect is extremely important to me. When I was in secondary school, after secondary school, I broke up with a guy. Oh gosh, bloggers are going to get me, but I broke up with a guy because he was from a good family. I was from an okay family, and he called me to make a joke about a friend of ours he saw in Trotro. And I just found that so condescending. It's something that bothered me because I was raised on respect. It doesn't matter how rich or poor the person is. It's important to me that you treat everybody well. I never told him why I broke up with him, but I remember just being so disgusted and sitting. I'm like, I'm going to break up with this guy because I'm looking at the future. I'm like, this is the kind of guy, if we are even together, and I was 17, by the way. I was like, if we are together and, we don't have money, he's not going to be honest about where he is in his life. He's not even going to be willing to live poor because he has to always pretend that he has it all. And that was me at 17 years old. And those are values that have stuck with me. So when I meet anybody, yes, the flashy things may be interested, but beyond it all, character. It's extremely important that you respect how you treat people, not just, me, how you treat people when I'm not around, because I'm trying to integrity. Hey, my village people have got me. It's extremely important, to me. So I'm not, it's how I live is not an act. It is who, it is who I am. And it's important that who I meet, has these values as well. I mean, you can't get it all. There's this false, one of the panelists said something about, I'm sure Nancy, because Nancy has been throwing the gems, today, but she said something about, it's not about money or this. Look, money is extremely important. You might not have it, but I want to be able to have an honest conversation about money with you. Do you get me? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? How are we paying for these things? So if you're not someone, but it all warps into respect. If you have respect for yourself, you have respect for me, you have respect for the commitment we are going on, you have respect enough to have the most honest conversations with me. And a lot of times it's really that simple. But guys approach women, they don't come as they are. They come as, I'm trying, Lord Jesus, not to be shady, but they come when, it's like, if you don't fit in the suit, just don't wear it. Okay, come in your nika and your shirt. It's fine. But people come and pretend to be who they're not, and eventually, I can't help how smart I am, because I was raised by amazing parents and an army of amazing grandmothers who can smell BS for miles away. So really, come as you are. They say, Emma, you see a very successful woman dating a guy who you feel like, of all guys, why him? Because he came as he was. He didn't come as a caricature.
Yeah.
So that is how I pick, my relationship. Because I've met great guys and all my friends like, but why did you break up with him? I'm like, I know why. Because it was not about any of this, for me. And then years later, something happened and they call me. They're like, how did you, no, I have no time for people who, don't respect other people. But they really don't respect, themselves. So that's how, but and then you make a few mistakes, and even after all this talk, I've still dated some foolish people. I'm like, because when you meet people, sometimes that sense goes out the window, But then you have a praying grandmother who goes like, God, bring sense back into my daughter, and then you remember that this is not the one for you.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I really do want to commend Nancy for being very open and honest about how she feels, right? And that's not, obviously, for me. I don't think I can take my husband having another woman. But do you think that this is why some men have become so confident that they can have other women, because other women are okay with things like this?
Yeah.
Do you think that it's something that is also happening, Pamela?
Yeah.
So the question was, do I think that polygamy and polygamous situations happen because other women are okay with their men stepping out? Is that the question?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think other than Nancy, I'm not sure there are many women that are happy that their man is stepping outside the marriage. They may just tolerate it because it's easier to just turn a blind eye, or they might just say men will be men, and so they're going to do what they want to do. I think there's also on the other side, the women that are entangling themselves with these married men know that these men are married, but they don't care. For some people, a married man is actually more of a goal to go after him because he's committed once, he's probably got standing, he's probably got money, and actually that's attractive. And so I think that's why you kind of get this situation where there are men with multiple women that they're servicing or whatever. One main woman who's the wife, and then a side chick, and then maybe another mistress as well on top of that. There's layers. So I think that I don't think that there's any one party that is contributing to it. I think there's several people who are players of this, and obviously the men too who are deciding to step outside their own marriages. We need to ask them and pull them up as to why they're doing it and why this is something that they feel is okay to perpetuate and continue doing. I think some of the blame needs to lay at the feet of men. I think that where we're at now in 2020 is that there are more women who are now independent and can fend for themselves and provide for themselves, and therefore they don't need to find themselves in a situation where they are dependent on staying in a marriage or getting into a marriage in order to support themselves. And so that doesn't have to be your choice if you don't want to be in a situation like that. And I think that is an empowered place to be to stand in, that you don't need to have somebody, and you can travel through life and take this journey through life on your own if you're a woman and you have your own means. And I think that having the confidence, the education, the resilience, the financial backing, if that's important as well, to be independent without relying on a man, I think it's a good place to be, personally.
Okay. And do you think we need to get married? Do we need to get married? Does everybody have to get married?
Let me speak on my own perspective. I feel like marriage is not for everyone. It can be for so many reasons. It can be one because I feel like I haven't achieved everything that I want. It can be because we've seen so many marriages that tend to fail within a very short time. And it's for so many reasons, but there are people, there are women out there who still feel like it's not for them. Personally, I feel like I'm still not really for marriage yet. I don't know, but personally, that's what I feel. Marriage is not for everyone.
I also think the same. It's not for everyone. I do believe that marriage is a wonderful
Lydia, how
thing,
do you
but
feel
I
about
think
it?
it's not for everyone.
Okay, and we have a man on the call. Please, can you say your name and what you have to say to our women on the panel?
Hello, everyone. And thank you very much for having me on the show. I have a question for, I think, everyone on the panel. So, the divorce rate among females, especially in the United States, is about 26%.
Can you guys hear? Can you guys hear?
Yeah,
Lydia, can you hear?
I can hear.
Yeah.
Just talk
Yeah.
a little bit louder, please. Talk a little bit louder.
Is it better?
Yeah, better. That's better.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what I was saying is the divorce rate among females here in the United States is about 26%. But when it comes to Hollywood celebrities, females alone is about 62%. Do you think that your fellow married couples, affect your decision-making process? You may be with the right man, but you think that, because social media says something about this person's marriage or wedding, mine has to be bigger than that. I think this question goes to Lydia.
Okay, if I'm getting his question right, he said something about
Miss Forson.
Yeah, he said something about Hollywood stars and the divorce rates, and he also said that he was linking it to societal pressure. Was that what the question was in a nutshell, guys?
He also mentioned social media.
Yeah. Okay. So on the celebrity side, I think it's important for people to know that, for instance, in Ghana, if we are talking about top female actors, if we put everybody together, we are not even up to 50. I mean, and that's me exaggerating the numbers. The thing about being in the public eye is you can walk through a door, fall down, 10 other people will do the same thing, but yours is amplified. So this false narrative about female celebrities and all of those things is just our own perception, because it's people that we see, it's people we see every single day, and we see their lives. Do you understand? So it's very unfair to, because it's something that's constant, female celebrity. But when you put the lineup up, how many are we? How many are not married versus, how many are married? How many have kids versus how many don't? So it's really, it's a small pool to sample from. Now, when it comes to societal pressure, it's not just for marriage. Every day I go on social media, when I started my career, I didn't have a car. You're thrown into this limelight and you're expected to live a certain way. And for a few years, I'm not gonna lie, I started behaving like that. And I'm gonna go broke before I get rich. It had to come down to who I am as a person. Pressure will always come. There's always someone's marriage that seems better. I mean, by now we should know that social media is packaging. It's for us to, tune our mind to the fact that people show you only a percentage of their life. When you're crying, only a few people actually take a mirror and record themselves crying to put it online. I could be having a bad day And then, I will post, like I said, I come out of surgery, nobody knew, but I was on social media responding and doing ha 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 to, people. So when it comes to societal pressure, especially when it comes to social media, it really boils down to you, the individual. If you're insecure, if you're easily swayed with peer pressure, you're constantly going to have a problem, not just in your marriage, in your work. Nancy, you host a TV show, which is doing amazingly well. There are other people who are doing, shows as well. If you don't take time, you might start to compare yourself to them. I have a hair brand, and, by goodness, Instagram can really test you. Because when we started, our company, I didn't know how many people were doing hair cream in this country. It, like, I woke up one day and every day you see, ads of people doing almost the same thing. I had to make a conscious decision to say, I am not them. They are on their journey. There are millions of Ghanaians in this country, and it's okay if they buy from them, but I'm sure I'll get a percentage. So it really boils down to you and what you allow. Because if you're going to say the pressures around you and, Bay goes, Bay is in France and we are doing this and all that, if you're going to let that dictate your marriage, it's going to dictate your entire life. I hope that answers your question. And I'm sorry about my dog.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. I have Elizabeth. No, that's fine. We love seeing the dog. Elizabeth, what do you have to say about the conversation so far?
Oh, hello, Dentaa, and hello to all the panels. I'm very, very grateful for this topic. After that, I am a woman reproductive health advocate, and I was very grateful when you ladies were speaking about the childbearing. Base my points on that. As I always say, having a child is a choice, and also some people cannot physically have a child because of medical reasons. And this is what, when it comes to our African society, mostly they do not understand. I have one child. It wasn't easy for me to be able to conceive. And up to now, a lot of people know that I cannot have any more child because of health reasons. And I still get people always pressuring me, like, when are you having the second one? When are you having the second one? And you're thinking, hang on, I cannot physically carry a child, or it's not easy for me to conceive. So it's something I just want to share with you ladies, whether it's a choice or whether it's a medical reasons that you don't want to have it, it's to you. No one should force you to get married or to have a child. Marriage is also a choice. And it really puts me when, you come down to where we come from, people don't actually ask what the purpose of a woman is. To be a mother or a wife. Our purpose is to, have like an impact on people's lives. And this is the things that we need to fight for, things that we need to work on. So you ladies, God bless you for this, platform. I'm so grateful and I'm learning. And I hope we will be able to help other women out there to realize that they need to know what their purpose are. They need to fight for their purpose and, ignore society, labeling and some type of. God bless you ladies. And, well done. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for sharing your comment. I really appreciate that.
Can I say something?
Ivy, do you have anything to add that? Yeah.
I saw a comment where someone said we need to talk about adoption being a great option. I just want to touch on that because the caller also mentioned whether you adopt, that in Ghana, the law does not allow single women to adopt. So if somebody's single and they haven't had they don't have a husband and they want to look at adopting, this country of Ghana does not allow a single person to adopt.
Wow.
If they wanted that to be their
option. There are children who just need loving homes to go to.
Yeah.
And the children suffer at the end, I don't think enough people have paid attention to all of these laws.
Yeah.
Because I have friends, who've gone through the process, and it's, it's not, easy. And I really appreciate that she spoke about, the challenges women, go through. Like I said, I would just not forget that day, lying in the hospital bed and reading that comment. It's like you don't know what someone is going through. And, I have a friend, a very popular Nigerian, actress Inse, and she cannot have children at all. She's spoken out very openly about her experience, and even in the comment section, people are like, God will do it. It's like, no, I don't have a womb, it's gone. But people refuse to accept people's journey and the difficulties that come with having children, and women's, I think it's just difficult for people to accept women as whole beings who have agency over their bodies. It's just very difficult for people to accept that.
Yeah.
It is. But somebody's just sent me a Bible quotation, because they said Nancy said there's nowhere in the Bible that says a man should be one wife. And they have sent me 1 Corinthians 7:2. It says, but because there is such sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. Yasendi Abremi. This is what the Bible also says. How do you feel about that, Nancy?
I mean,
Yes.
you know the stories in the Bible about the men who had other wives. Even Hagar, who was a slave that had, a child with Abraham, was acknowledged by God. You understand? And in our time and age, Dentaa, my passion is that a lot of young women are in relationships with married men. Some have been side chicks for 2 years, 5 years, and yet they tell themselves that they cannot be the other wives. What is the wisdom in it? You are with another man who is married to another woman. The man is with both of you at the same time, and yet you don't want him to do right by you. You understand? So I think that we need to move on. If a man is in love with a woman and he is able to communicate with his wife, he should be able to take the woman on as a wife. And that is not sin. As far as I'm concerned, that is not sin. It is just a Western idea that our laws are backed by it. And even that, our grandfathers gave us the opportunity that if you marry under traditional marriage, you can have more than one wife, because that is how our society was like. It is something that we have imported. Some would live with it. Before, we imported perming hair. I have my hair permed. Lydia grew up one day and said, no, I don't want my hair to be permed. I want to go back originally to my roots. And that is her looking all beautiful in her natural hair. So let us just, that is me. That is my opinion. I'm not forcing it on anybody. If you think that it's ungodly for... Yes, Dentaa.
Nancy, but the thing what that side chick is doing is wrong. That's the thing.
That is why I'm saying they should do right by being white.
Because you know that person is married.
I agree. It is wrong. So you do it right by being a wife.
No, can I just say something about this whole side chick? It's different to be in love with somebody. I think we sometimes skip over the fact that a lot of women are in this relationship because of how society is structured. Not even love, money. When the economic structures are imbalanced and women feel the need to depend on men financially, they find themselves in relationships that they don't want to be there. There's a difference between someone who is in love with a married person and wants to share her life with, and someone who is in a transactional relationship. And a majority of these relationships are very transactional. If this man is honest, if he says he's a polygamist, because I know people who are married and are, as you say, other wives. If this man is honest, one, a lot of these men are not honest that they want to be in polygamous relationship. So they then become liars, and then they force their other partners to also be liars. Let's not place the burden on the other woman. When it's a man who made the initiative to be with this person, if you're honest with your wife, when a man approaches me and you're married and I'm like, okay, what does your wife think about it? If you're honest with your wife and we all understand the kind of relationship we are having, then we can have this thing. But the reality is a lot of these women in these kinds of relationship is for financial gain, and because of how the inequality is in this country. You find women who are in relationship because of job opportunities, because of, you know, financial gain, because of, you know, personal, you know, advancement. So while I agree with you that yes, if you want to be in a polygamous relationship, by goodness, be open to it, own it. But the truth is, a lot of it, the power dynamics don't even support that, because it's really a transactional relationship. A lot of young women find themselves, and it starts from university, where you're trying to pay your school fees, your hostel fees, and that's why women are not honest. Most people in relationships like this are not honest. It's because it's something they do with shame. Because you find yourself having a relationship with a man because you apply to 20 jobs, and everybody wants to sleep with you before they give you the job. So you throw caution to the wind, and you start a relationship with a boss you do not like. I know people who have to take alcohol just to have sex with their partners. That is not a polygamous, you know, minded person. That's someone who's there because they have no choice. So if we can separate the truth, I agree with you 1,000%, you know, and I
agree with you.
Boldness in saying that, look, let's be honest about polyandry, polygamy, and all other dreams, you know, that are there. But in doing that too, let's acknowledge that a lot of these men are liars and selfish. And that's just it. Own your greediness. I have a guy who's a friend who in his mind, he said, look, he wants a lot of children. Every girl he's dated knows that he does not belong to her alone. And his girls are very happy. That's someone who I actually have respect for. But then there's Kojo, who's always pleased. It's not any Kojo. It's not any Kojo. But there's Kojo who is lying about, you know, who's lying about where he's coming from. His wife doesn't know. And that's where a lot of diseases also come into play, because you're not protecting yourself. And then you're putting two women's life at risk because of your selfishness. It really boils down to honesty. Nancy has been honest to be in a polygamous relationship. If Ivy wants to be a polyandrous, she should be honest about it too. And then we can all move. I feel like society will be much better if we all own what we want. Everybody will be happy. But we are liars, and we are not courageous enough to live, you know, our life.
Yeah. Dentaa, I saw that you put the comment on the screen about the adoption. I just went and looked it up. So it looks like the person who told me that it was not legal for a single person was somebody who is outside Ghana, because the law says if you are a single person and you're not a Ghanaian, you cannot adopt. Only married couples can adopt children in Ghana if you are not Ghanaian. But if you are Ghanaian, if you're a Ghanaian citizen and a single female under the age of 50, you're allowed to adopt.
That's nice.
Men are not. Single men are not allowed to adopt in Ghana unless it's a biological child.
Oh, that's not fair.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay, we're going to take a round of questions from our audience. Please, if you have your question, this is the time to put your questions on the comment box, and make sure that you are sharing your pages on your YouTube and Facebook. Do a Facebook watch party. And so one of the questions that's on here by Love Crossing Borders is, do you find women or men putting the most pressures on you?
Both.
Anyone?
You're breaking up for me. Can you say that again? You're breaking up for me.
You said, do you find men or women put the most societal pressures?
Can you?
Okay. You get that?
It's
if I may, Pam.
It's mostly the women, as in like it's the moms, the aunties, the grandmas that are asking the questions. The woman who doesn't know you, who got into your cab. The comments tend to be more from other women in your life, I find. But as a society, if we're talking about societal pressure, it tends to be something that is coming from all angles, as well as the comments that are coming from perhaps other women in your life. It is the media, the images you see in the media, images you see through social media, which are pushing this whole idea that women should aspire to marriage and they should aspire to motherhood, and that there aren't, and if you don't aspire to those things, you don't achieve those things, somehow you're a failure. And I think that the story, that sort of narrative comes through everything that is surrounding us. This is why we're having this panel talk today, because we know that it's such a big focus that is put on us as African women in the diaspora, women who are in Ghana, just how strong it comes through, and why we feel that it's more acute as women of African descent than it might be for our counterparts who are white or from the Western world or whatever.
Okay, Lydia, can you take the question on the screen?
We talk a lot about society. As women make up the majority of society, what responsibility do we have for changing the narrative about marriage? Honesty. I narrated an incident earlier on in the conversation about how it was a woman who had gone through a very bad, marriage. That saw me, and the first thing she said was, when are you getting married? We are not very honest in the kind of relationships that we are in, and we have a responsibility to also raise our daughters and our sons right, so that a lot of these conversations change in the future. Because I'm blessed to have a mother who is very, very honest, very blunt. I think for me, my greatest fear is bringing a guy home that most people, their parents will be grateful. My parents will be like, you know what? I would rather you just remain single. And that's a privilege I acknowledge that I have, that a lot of people do not have. We need to be honest. That's why these conversations are important. We find that some women going through the most abusive relationships are also the ones who use marriage to shame people, because they are holding on to that as a title. In recent years, we've seen so many people come out in the media to admit that, I was suffering abuse, but I couldn't talk about it, because marriage has become a trophy that they feel they need to, hold on to. But you see that the more women share their stories and their pain, it encourages other people. It encourages other young girls to feel like, listen, there's absolutely nothing wrong with waiting to get the right guy. There's nothing wrong if I don't want to be married. There's nothing wrong if I don't want to have, children. And so we have to be honest with ourselves, with our peers, and especially with the children that we are raising. Because we cannot be speaking all this women empowerment and have children and not raise them right. And not just the girl child. How we raise our men is equally important. My brothers have been raised to cook, to clean. I was spoiled. When I traveled to London, my brother does all the cooking and cleaning and most of the laundry, because it was a genderless home. And I don't think, my mom is not, didn't finish secondary school or anything, but she also knew the kind of life she wanted all of us, to have. So it's important that we become the generation that does right by our children, so that 20 years from now, we are not having these, conversations. So honesty, number one. Stop lying. Stop using social media to lie.
Oh, yeah. What?
Okay, Ivy, can you take the next question?
There's nothing on this. Oh, what do you value in marriage or relationships? I value trust and honesty. Trust, honesty, and support for each other. Communication is so important. I think a lot of people don't realize that some relationships become destructive because there's no communication. How are you supposed to know what a person needs, or how are you supposed to know what your partner needs if you don't communicate? And also, communication is the foundation of building a level of intimacy in your relationship, because intimacy is not only about sex. Intimacy is also about sharing your deepest fears, your deepest desires. That's supposed to be the person that you can go to share all these things that you talk about with only your partner. And so I think that developing a sense of intimacy through communication is very important in a marriage and in a relationship as well. And knowing that when you communicate and share those deep things, that you can trust that person is going to only keep it between the two of you. Because once that trust is broken, it's like, it's hard to bring trust back into the relationship. But trust, honesty, communication to build intimacy is really important for me.
Can I add on that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, go on, Anne.
Also, religion, because if you're gonna raise kids, we need to know how they're gonna go. So I think religion also is part of it.
She makes a good point there, because I knew of someone who was Christian and married a Muslim man, and they had said that they would be fine. You know, they were, you know, the blissful love and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, but when the children come, that's when the issue was going to happen, because both of them were very devout in what they believed. So when the child came, you know, by the time the child was 5, now can vocalize and say things, then problems began, because it would be like, the mother would say, we're going to do this for Christmas. Then the daughter's like, well, dad said we don't celebrate Christmas, you know? So already from the young age, you're seeing the divide happen. They're divorced now, actually. They divorced before the child turned 10. And it was all, a large part of it was in how they're raising their child. So I agree. That's a good point you brought up, Anna.
Yeah. Pamela, how do we change this narrative for the young girls?
I think that the emphasis needs to change. And I think I said this at the top of the call. It's not that, and I think everybody on the panel, I would agree. It's not that we're saying marriage and children is bad. That's not the message. What we're saying is, it needs to be removed as the #1 goal for women in life, and we need to be explaining to young girls that there are many things to aspire to in life, from personal achievements, whether that be academic or non-academic. What about contributing to the community? What about developing as a person that is whole, that is fulfilled? All of these things. I noticed that when I see my aunts, they don't ask me whether I'm happy. They just ask me where the man is, as if that is the only thing that should be the focus of my life. And I think it's about changing that focus and teaching girls that they need to aspire to many more things than just the one thing about being the one, and I guess the second thing, the children follow from the wife position. And also, we've said this a couple of times on the panel today, marriage is not for every woman and it's not for every man. So therefore, where are the options and where is the freedom to just be if that choice is not one for you as a person? And I think that because we're dealing with such a kind of very constricted culture that has very, very set parameters that we're trying to operate within, it's difficult for us because people see anyone who operates outside those very tight parameters as being somehow an outcast or a failure. And I think that's what needs to be changed. Nobody is a failure because they didn't get married, whether that's a woman or a man. Nobody's a failure because they didn't have children, whether that's a woman or a man. There are so many options and paths that people can take. And I just think that needs to be welcomed a lot more.
Oh, I have a comment here that somebody sent us on Facebook, and Victor says, marriage to me is for everyone, but the purpose of which people marry is what differs and must be respected. Not everyone marries for children, so we shouldn't see age as a factor or childbearing as the reason why we should marry. Children is the icing on the cake, in fact, an extra blessing, but absence of which shouldn't take the shine out of marriage. When we start seeing this in this way, then we would appreciate that marriage vocation and respect the fact that one can marry at any. Do you agree with that, Lydia?
I agree with everything except the fact that marriage is for everybody, because it's really is, and it's very difficult to determine. I know people who are very okay with being alone. But I agree with almost every point that when it's no different from relationships. People get into relationships for different reasons. They're in relationships for companionship, financial stability, for children, there are different reasons why you get into, relationships. But I also do respect that marriage is not for everybody, because not everybody wakes up, every day of their life, dreaming about who. Look, I know people who get more excited about job opportunities than relationships. I had a friend who, everybody had questioned his sexuality at some point because he didn't like girls. But, when I would have conversation with him, I realized, when someone can just look at themselves in the mirror, they are that much in love with themselves that they don't want to share themselves with anybody. And it was very, very strange to me. But I think we need to open our minds to a world where people are very different. There are people who say they are asexual. It's a concept that I don't understand, but it works very, very well. And then people say they are pansexual. Do I get it? I don't. But I think if we are limited in how we view the world, and people will argue with you that all of this is Western, which I find hilarious, because when you start reading history and you delve into, life before us, you wonder what happened to us, because a lot of the way we live right now, 100 years ago, people didn't, live like that. People were very open. And like Nancy would say, polygamy was not a big deal. But religion came into the picture. And depending on, how you practice your religion or Christianity, it became wrong. It's for the same reason why we have traditional marriages and then we feel the need to go and have a white, marriage. We keep changing and making rules as we go, and people will be able to justify why we do this or that. But the reality is, when you do have time and you open your eyes, there's a whole world out there that you've not even, scratched. There is a world where women, marry more than one husband, and society, it's not just sexual. There's a culture where women marry each other. It's not necessarily about homosexuality. It's a partnership, of some. I don't know. I'm sure. I keep looking at Ivy because I feel like she's read the same articles we've read. But there's a culture where, women partner. People see marriage as different things. So when we open our mind to that, these conversations are not as difficult because it really boils down, to choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question was up on the screen. Nancy, can somebody be married and still find love with somebody else?
That is very true. Yes.
Polygamy.
No, not necessarily. There are people who want to be married to just one partner, but the feeling, you will meet another person who is nicer, who is probably kinder, whom you connect more, even have that kind of great sexual chemistry more than your partner. But the discipline is that I have said, like Ivy already stated, that I cannot be with more than one person than this partner, and I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with this partner. That does not mean you will not feel. So your commitment And what you agreed to have as a marriage is what will make you decide to entertain this feeling of love or let it go. So the truth of the matter is, you could be absolutely happily married for both men and women and still fall in love. And that is why the new technical word came in. When that happens for you, you call it entanglement.
Oh, this entanglement.
So it happens for both the men and the women, and we should understand it. It's just discipline that makes one work on it, express it, give into it. And the other who lacks discipline and probably decided not to take their vows too seriously would let go and not be bothered. But indeed, it can happen to every couple, Muslim, Christian, wherever you are.
Absolutely. Ivy, what do women look for in a man before saying this is Mr. Right?
I can't answer that for every woman, but what I can say is that we look for a man who is going to be supportive of us, a man who's going to truly love us. And love is not just saying it, it's showing it. And it's showing it in different ways. It's understanding, it's when you know he understands you. And I think a lot of women just know when the man understands them, when they're in the relationship. You feel like you don't have to put in much effort for him to really, truly be doing the things that he needs to be doing. I think that's when a woman realizes that, yes, this man truly loves me, and yes, I truly love him. And it's not necessarily from buying things, because I think sometimes men, because they have that nature of wanting to provide, they have this assumption that if they buy bigger and better and spend more money, that's what's going to make you want to love him or be with him. But like, for example, I had dated somebody, I was with somebody for like 4 years, unfortunately it didn't work out, but he had, I was living in East Legon, and he was living all the way past Circle, like towards Tessano, Caprice area. I was sick, and he came all the way to come and deliver food because I couldn't cook because I was sick and there was light off. And for me, that was a gesture. That was a gesture of love, to come all the way to the other side of town, bring the food, and then tell me that I'm going to just let you rest. You weren't even trying to come and have any conversation or do anything. You just wanted to come and bring me the food and let me rest. And at that moment, I was like, I actually hadn't had somebody do something like that for me up until that point, that was showing that, yeah, you really care, because you went out of your way. You didn't have to come all this way through, Accra traffic. You didn't have to come all the way. You could have had a delivery person come and do it, but you came on your own and did it. So I think there's little things that people don't realize. A friend of mine, I don't know if she's watching, but a friend of mine told a story about a guy who brought her onions, and it was because the type of onions he brought were a special type of onion, and he knows she enjoyed cooking and knew that that special type of onion might bring something different to the meal. I'm sure if she's watching, she knows I'm telling the story, but it is those little things that women go, okay, he does care. Oh, he does listen. He does listen to what I say. So I don't think I have one answer. I think women just know when they feel that, yeah, this is somebody I could spend my life with. I have met someone I thought I could spend my life with. Unfortunately, It didn't work out. So
it didn't work out. Okay, Lydia, what's your answer to this question? Okay, Pamela, you comment and then we'll go to Chrissy.
No, I was just saying, similarly to Ivy, I also thought that I had met somebody and I was wrong. So yeah, I know how you feel, Ivy.
Okay, Lydia.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
The question on the screen.
To the ladies, I think I'm tired of my parents thinking the fact that I'm single is my fault as the woman. What would be your advice? Gosh, I mean, I wish I could have a conversation with your parents. I don't even know what is the right advice, because it's something I have just never encountered with my own parents. At some point, you know, as I get older, the older you get, the more you realize that your parents don't have all the answers. In fact, they are not, let me be very careful with my words, but yeah, they really don't have all the answers. They are like signboards, you know, they can show you where to go, but you have to get there yourself. And so if you're old, mature, you're taking care of yourself, you need to learn to stand up for yourself. It doesn't mean be disrespectful. And they are not, if it's something that is new to them, they're probably going to resist it. But if you know your heart is pure and your mind is at the right place, eventually they'll learn to appreciate. Look, one of my very good friends, I will not, you know, mention her name, but her parents were, you know, her mom was really on her case about getting, you know, married. And they had, you know, the bogus outside, you know, this one is there, is from Jamai. This guy is from here, you know, why don't you check him out? And it became a lot of pressure. She went through it because, you know, parents believe that it is great advice. They love you. That's why they are trying to push you to this. And she had to stand up for them. And she met the most amazing, like my friend is living the storybook, you know, married life. She met somebody and nobody really understood because he was not from Ghana, you know. So that was, you know, another conversation on her own. And the pressure from the family nearly, you know, gave her pressure, and she actually pressured this guy as well. Fast forward years later, they figured it out. And one thing she always tells me is, Lydia, this is how it's supposed to be. And every time I think about the pressure I went through and how I nearly caved, I look at my life now, I'm like, gosh, this is what I would have missed. So you have to, at some point, you have to learn to walk on your own 2 feet, stand up to your parents. Don't be disrespectful, but let them understand that this is where I am in my life right now. And I think too many of us are afraid to say this to our parents because we are afraid of their reaction. But we forget that they will always come around because you're their child. They're not going to kick you to the curb. And if they do, it is their loss, unfortunately, and not yours. So I'm sorry that you're going through that, but you need to learn to stand up for yourself and explain to your parents that, you know, men are not in the supermarket. If they were, I would have a checklist of everything I needed. I'll go to Maxmart and say, can I order tall, dark, muscle, less than million? You know, maybe sometimes you need to break it down to people. Like, it's not something you go and buy from the market. If it was, you know, who all go and buy one, you know?
Right?
My heart goes out to anybody who goes through that, because I cannot imagine, you know, my parents ever doing that to me, ever. I love you, Dad. You're watching. I love you. I love you so much. I love you, Mom.
So, Anne, what are some of the mindsets you wish our community will begin to adopt on the issues of marriage, dating, and having children generally?
Well, I can't talk about marriage because honestly, I don't have experience yet. But about dating, are we talking about society, right? Could you repeat your question? Maybe I didn't get it right.
Okay. What are some of the mindsets you wish our community will begin to adopt on the issue of marriage, dating, and having children generally?
I feel like dating, when it comes to dating,
you know we've been talking about, sorry, Anne, you know we've been talking about the pressures that you know people, society puts on us. How would you want the community to change? What can we do to begin to change that narrative?
Wow, that's a very hard question. What can we do? That's a
Or anybody
very
want to
hard
jump in
question.
here? What do you think the community? Because I want us to find a solution. I on the show, apart from us, sharing our views and stuff, I want us to have the solution in our minds, what the solution would be. We have all of these people saying, when are you getting married? When are you having children? What would be the perfect situation for us? And how, because we need to make sure that we are impacting things on the next generation, the next females who are coming up. How do we want things to be like?
Okay.
And that goes to anybody on the panel.
It's I think we're all just quiet because there's so much we want to change, but we
deep.
don't even know where to begin from. I want to live in a world where my worth isn't tied to another person. I want to live in a world where my worth isn't tied to who I'm with. I want to live in a world that acknowledges the work I put in, how far I've come, and my achievements. That's the ideal world we want to put in. And there's no one way to do it. Is in having these kinds of conversations. We've come a long way, probably about even 5 years ago, some of these conversations, I look at, Nancy's show and how bold she is on the show. And probably 5-6 years ago, a woman on national TV talking about sex was like, how dare you? So I need to believe that we are making progress. But we need to continue to have these conversations. Really, that's all we can do. Keep having these conversations so that society changes how we see women, but not just women. There's also pressure on men as well. There's pressure on how men should treat a woman. There's pressure on men and even the kinds of wives they should have. There's this running joke that said, you don't marry who you love, you marry who's available. And I've had a lot of men tell me, these kinds of things. And it's sad that, as we go through our pressures, men, on one hand, we are pressurized, but men are also pressured even in their spouses that they pick. So you find a man that, may love you, may accept you, flaws and all, but he also knows the society he lives in, he cannot be with, a woman, like you. So it's a lot, and I feel like I'm rambling, but I think in a nutshell, I really want us to live in a world where we can be viewed as individual beings and not who we are attached to.
Well said.
Also,
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna add on that, on Lydia, what Lydia said. I'd also want to live in a world where whether it's a man or a woman, we respect the other person's decision. Whatever they said, just respect it. Whether they want to get married, whether they want to date, whether they want to have a kid. If they don't, respect it. You don't need to have an opinion over the decision, because at the end of the day, they own the decision. So I'd like to live in a world where everyone just accepts things the way they are. Just let it be,
I think having conversations like this is definitely helpful.
I have one of our sisters, Renee Q, on the line. Renee, what do you think about? Yeah, hold on, Ivy. Renee, what do you think about the conversation so far?
Oh my goodness, you ladies, you've taken like 3 hours of my time. I just had log off. It is amazing. Dentaa, well done. Lydia, Pam, Ivy, Anna, Nancy. It's been so good. The only thing I really wanted to contribute a little to was about the polygamy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I was like, I really need to just chip in a little bit here. Otherwise, I can't go to bed.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm a married woman, married for 14 years. Love my husband so much, like we are the best of friends. I don't think that I mean, this is my opinion as well. I don't think that if you truly, fully, completely love a man, you'll be able to share him with another woman. That's number one. Number two, as a woman, there are so many women who are walking on the streets naked and mad, crazy, because they are heartbroken, because their marriages, their relationship failed. So as women, and we are talking about now empowering other women, standing together as women, uplifting other women, we should stand together to protect not only our jobs and everything, but our relationships. So if another woman's husband comes to you, you're like, no, I'm standing up for my sister. I'm not taking you. Plus, I'm a woman, and if somebody does it to me, I won't like it. So I'll do it to another woman. So, I mean, that's my stance. I feel like if all of us women will stand up and will do this, after a while, there'll be no cheat. There will be no cheat because there'll be no women available, for any men to come and cheat with. So when the men come, they will come. They can't zip it up. They are men. So when they do come, and you are saying to them that please, I need my sister, Pam is my sister, Nancy, I love her to hate, Lydia, Anna, please, I'm not going to do that to her because I don't like it if anybody does. There are women going crazy, talking. They're just talking, mentioning the men. On the street. We don't even have the mental health care here in Ghana. So please, and after, I think somebody said, as you're talking, you're saying how in the past, our forefathers, our grandparents, all of that, they didn't marry out of love. It was like a what do you call it? It was like a connection. It was like, so two families will come together. Oh, they are
arranged marriage. It was more of arranged marriage.
Thank you. Arranged marriage. So they are the same age group. Then they come together. Then they get married. They don't really love each other and everything. So it's like arranged. So if the second one comes, you know anything? Third one comes, you know anything? But we passed that stage. Now we are educated. We are enlightened. We are our eyes are open. We understand now. We understand emotion. We understand love. We understand mental health. Women are going crazy because of heartbreak. I don't think that women, let's stand together. Let's protect other women's marriages. And in a way, we'll put the men to shame in a very nice way. You can just say, sir, you probably will have a daughter one day, and I don't think you would like it if anyone should do that to your daughter. This is my little nugget on here.
Oh, thank you so much, Renee Q. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
There's somebody who keeps asking a question.
Any comment to that?
To what Renee said. I appreciate the pain, women go through. So I feel like a lot of, for a lot of women who are approached by these men, sometimes, like Ivy, narrated a story where the guy was not wearing the ring. They come in with, they're very few of these people lead with the fact that they're married. And so they come, and again, we've also talked about the power dynamics that are at play here. And so in an ideal world, it would be great for women to band together and say no more. But we need to hold men accountable.
Yeah.
We need to hold men accountable for their actions, because I've sat with men and I've had these conversations, and I love, my favorite conversation is when men are calling themselves out, because there are a lot of young girls who are impressionable, who are not, in your early 20s, you think you have life figured out, but you really don't. And you find yourself entangled with somebody you shouldn't be entangled with. That's why even in offices, when you're a boss, you're not supposed to be dating, within, your secretary or something, unless you go and fill, I think you fill some forms, to that effect. When power dynamics are at play, if women even band together, there's still going to be someone who is going to get out of that group because she's under pressure from a boss, financial constraints, and all of those things. So, like, my heart, I've said it before, I really wish we would all come together and say, no more, don't do this, won't do this to another person's man and all of those things. And then there are men who are doing to other people's wives, You know, whenever we talk about cheating, you know, there are men who, no, I have, these are stories that are not mine to share. So I respect people's privacy. But I know men who have cried at night. I know men who've almost had accidents because their wives are stepping out. These are women who, when we do our own, we are very good at it. Because society doesn't expect women to have sexual urges. You know, sex is supposed to be something men take and women give. And so women are stepping out as well. And there are men who are equally, you know, damaged. So I agree with Renee, but I feel like it's not just women. It should be, all of us should learn to respect people's relationships, and people should respect the relationships they are in. Because I cannot make you respect the relationship that you are in if you don't do it with me, you go to another person. Some people, they are such dogs that if it's not a woman, they're gonna find, do you understand? Like, I keep telling women, sometimes it's not me you should be worried about. And I know I'm being very controversial, but sometimes is the best friend you should be worried about. Is that male best friend, you know, that school son. So people just generally need to respect the relationships they're in, and, you know, respect themselves. Respect yourself. When you respect yourself, there are just things you don't know how to do. But women, let's change the power dynamics so that young girls don't find themselves in these very, very, I'm not making excuses for them at all. I am not at all. But so that young girls don't feel like they have to make these decisions to be with people because it is the only way, you know, to get to the top. It's hard. There's no right or wrong, you know.
Denta, if I may, we should not assume that every person
Yes.
watching us is probably a Christian or believes in monogamous relationships. Let us be very open. As much as we're being open with everything that is coming from the West, let's understand that people are thinking traditionally, people are thinking religiously, and some religions allow it. And there are absolutely women who are in polygamous relationships who are happily married. And yet there are women in monogamous relationships who are only enduring. Yes. And indeed, there are times when you, like somebody asked, people actually fall in love even when they are married, and they take it to the next level. And so it's not every day that somebody is out there to take something from somebody that we need to protect. The reality is that all of these situations are part of our lives. Denta, you asked a question which my phone is almost going down, so maybe I would go off. So let me just add to it. I want us to understand that our world may not be such that you are born, you get married, and then you die. No. I want a world where we understand that there is this unfairness of life, where people plan for, they work for things, and yet they do not achieve it. People yearn to have companionship, great husbands, and yet they do not meet them. And there are days where people would have children out of wedlock. And there are days when the happily married couple will never have children. So let us not make the world as if it is so systematic that the right thing, such as we want it, is only that which would happen. Let us understand that some things are beyond the control of men. I mean, you will meet decent, I have met decent, wonderful ladies who for 2 years, 3 years, no man even approaches them to tell them that he is in love with them for them to even reject. And it's out of their control. And they probably do not have the confidence to go to a man and tell the man that I'm also in love with you. And so let us not just assume that the world will go such as we think positively, such as we want it to be, and that people have different opinions about how they want their lives to be. And whichever way, it is a beautiful world. We should live and allow others to live. That is it. Live and allow others to live. And Lydia, I hope that you make time and come on Duvet.
If I come and talk about sex now, bloggers will end my career.
They will not.
Definitely. I think I have Nana Mama Brown online.
Yay!
I have Nana Mama Brown on the line because she couldn't join us due to technical difficulties. Nana, what do you think the pressures are when it comes to women getting married and having children?
Good evening, everyone. How are we?
You fine?
Good evening.
We're good.
We're good. We're good.
Good evening.
It's so unfortunate that I couldn't see you.
We can't hear her.
And I do to be past this something.
Nana, your phone is breaking. Hello, Nana. Okay, Chrissy, put another question on the screen while I just go back to Nana.
Oh, it looks like, did we lose Dentaa?
Yeah.
I think,
Well, this has been a great conversation.
it
This
has.
is a really great conversation.
It has been. Indeed.
Really
Indeed.
She's back.
Dentaa, you're back.
No, I was just trying to get hold of Nanama. Please bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
Fine. I think someone's
Okay,
asking
she's
about
calling me back.
younger dating
Nana?
younger guys. Shoot your shot.
Uh-huh. Okay, so Nana, what is your views on this societal pressures that women face?
My view is right now, like I was saying, I wouldn't think of marriage as my first choice plan of life. Right now, what we have to do, Dentaa, the society, we can't stop them from telling us how they feel. But I think that with young women of today, we need to encourage our young ones, first of all, to find who they are first. And marriage is good. It's something that, every woman at a point in time, you will want to know what it's about, and it's good. But I from the way I live my life and from how I wanted to live, from the experience, I should say, relationships from teenage, as in when I was 19, that's when I started something. And few people I've been with, I realized that without my career, I wouldn't have been who I am now. We all go through this growing up. We all make these mistakes, or you learn from it. And I feel like society should stop. But what we can do is to let the girls know that, look, marriage is a good thing, but that is not a choice of life. That is not the best way to live. The best way to live is to find yourself, know who you are, get a career, live your life first before you get to involve yourself in that union, because it's a long way.
Nana, do you think that only women who are married are respected?
And somehow I wouldn't lie about it. That has been it has been a way of perception about why we don't we're complete. No. About what? We're complete. No. It shouldn't be so. The perception right now is, I believe that a woman, first of all, should be respected because of who she finds herself to be. We need to respect them, every woman, for who. What she represents as herself.
Okay. As a major...
before you feel like you have it all.
Okay, Nana, as a major household name in Ghana, what were some of the most important qualities you looked out for in your husband?
To be honest with you, nobody's perfect. And from me, I don't look out for so many things because I feel like I can't get it all. I just look out for a man who is ready to love me, who just fears God, and you're just intelligent, you work hard. Just think few things. It's not about how you look or what you have. No. It's about what you can also do. To add to my life. Are you in to help me, to correct me, to help me grow? Everybody wants to grow. So at a point in time, I decided that I can't do it alone. I need somebody. And listen,
If a woman falls in love, you get to believe or understand or would want to do most of the things your partner, tells you. And especially if you know what you want, like me, I know where I want to take my career. And if you come in, first of all, I need you to support what I do. And if you are not supporting what I'm doing, that means you don't, there's a will not support. So first of all, I need you to come in, love me for who I am. At the moment you find me, what I'm doing right there is what you have to know. That is me. And you need to support it. I'm not saying come and carry me. I said come and support.
Come and support.
So I respect, only love. And I feel like it's just an ordinary relationship. Yeah. I'm not afraid to walk out. I'm not afraid to tell you how I feel.
So, Nana, despite all the outside noise, how did you keep yourself hopeful that one day you will become a mother?
Oh, Dentaa. Look, I think it's we all need to believe. Every woman should first of all have the faith that you are going to be a mother, carry your own child one day. And that's all you need to carry along the journey. Because it's a very long journey. My situation was very long for me because I wanted to have a baby when I was like 21, 22. And it never happened, and I kept chasing till now. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Until I had baby Maggie, all I had was faith. All I had was that I'm going to be that woman. Yes, my sister has a 14-year-old baby. I will also have a 1-month baby very soon. It means that I have the faith, I have hope.
Yeah.
And that's all we need to carry every day because then what's in the baby?
Yeah.
And you can't live for everybody. You can't live for anyone.
Yeah.
Live your life.
Live your life. Absolutely. So I'm going to have, everybody say their last words. It's been 2.5 hours of a great, insightful talk show today. Nana, what would be your last words to those mothers who are pressurizing their children to get married and have children? What would your advice be to those parents who are currently watching?
To be honest with you, I would say as a mother, however you raise your child, whether single or with a father, what you need to tell her, first of all, is to tell her to believe in herself, first of all. And that marriage should be a second advice. Because I would want to raise baby Magdalene up as a wonderful woman who believes in herself. And if along the way Miss Magdalene gets pregnant she gets pregnant, it shouldn't stop her from what she wants to do. She gives birth and she continues. I won't tell her because no. Our young first choice, not Magdalene. No. She needs to find a career and needs to know who she is before she gets involved with. She gets to tell me about marriage.
Thank you so much.
That helped me.
Yeah. Nana, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We really appreciate your feedback and your insightful knowledge that you're sharing with us.
And then we need also not to forget that we still need to go ahead with all the protocols concerning COVID-19 because it's real and we shouldn't take it for granted.
Absolutely.
And any opportunity we get, we need to send a message across.
Absolutely,
Thank
Nana.
you so much.
Thank you so much. So Nancy, your last words before we leave. I know your battery is about to die out. What would be your last words to those mothers who are watching that are giving pressure to their children? Oh, I think I must have lost her. Lydia, your last words?
First of all, thank you for this discussion. I was, I expressed how my hesitation with you earlier on because, you're always worried about, the kind of headlines people will, do with this. But, sometimes you have to remember that even though bloggers will do what they will, it's important for us in these kind of positions to have these conversations for young girls. I just feel like we should continue to be our sisters' keepers, because what tends to happen is someone can go through something, and when they get out of it and they see another person drowning, they pretend that it's not, their problem. I stick up for all women. I don't have to like you. But if it's wrong, it is wrong. If more women are banding together and sticking up for each other when it comes to these, because we know the truth, we know the struggles we go through, and when we see our sister going through it, reach out. You might not have to. You might not call her personally. Ivy does this for me all the time. I acknowledge it, even though you might think I don't see it, but I see it, and every time it feels like, wow, I'm not alone in these fights. If we continue to have these conversations and band together when need be, the noise will come down a little. I know it's difficult. I have my bad days. There are days when, it can be frustrating. The older you get, you don't acknowledge how old you are or how bad your life is supposed to be until someone starts saying, well, you cannot be that, happy. There's got to be something, wrong with you. And it's hard. But then you get through this when a lot more, women and men, I've had amazing support from men, amazing men. So it's this problem, and I feel like we need to say that this problem that women go, it's not just women who go through it, because when women are going through something, it affects everybody. It affects children, it affects men. It might look like we are at the center of the conversation, but it's also because if we don't fix us, it's like a disease that spreads, all around. So I do hope that this, conversation has inspired more conversations. Like this is amazing we are having this, because this is one of the reasons why Shirley did, The Perfect Picture 10 years later. Yes, it's an entertaining movie, but it was also important that we talk about some of these, difficult conversations. So I do hope that we continue and, be our sisters keepers and stick up for each other. We are stronger together.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for 2.5 hours of your time. I really appreciate it. Even we got to see your wonderful dog in the background and him contributing with his barks and everything. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me on tonight's show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. I have
Thank
to
you
run
so
now.
much. Okay, Pamela. So what would your advice be to, the young person who's watching at the moment, who's following your career path, in the corporate world, and is struggling with, battling with, what their parents or society is saying about them getting married and having children?
Honestly, if I was talking to a young girl who's in her early 20s about this exact issue, I would say drown out all the background noise, all the chatter that's coming from other people, whether it's your family members, friends, society as a whole, and really focus on what it is that you want. You need to be very singular about what it is that you want out of life and how you want your life to be. You are the architect of your own destiny. And I think you just need to focus on what is going to make you fulfilled, and whether that is going to be a husband, fine. If that's going to be children, fine. If it's no children, that's also fine. If it's no husband, if it's a long-term boyfriend, that's also fine. I think what we just need is for people to feel as if they are empowered to make their own choices and not give in to pressures that come from external sources. So I would say look within. It's a personal journey. It's about your personal development, and try and focus on what it is that you want and not what other people want for you. Hope that's a good summary. Thanks very much for having me.
We can't hear you. We don't hear you.
Sorry, Anna, what would your last words be to empower and to encourage the young ones who are watching about, about marriage? Can you hear me?
Her mic is off.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there. My advice would be, can you hear me? At the end of the day, make your own decisions. Don't decide something because...
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. What happened?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you guys. At the end of the day, make a decision because it's your decision. Don't make a decision because you're getting pressure from your elder people or from your parents. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to say yes. And don't be afraid to say something that you don't agree with. So also, I would also like to add on, men and women should be very careful with whatever they tell people. Peer pressure can lead to anything. It can lead to death. It can lead to someone committing suicide. So as a woman, as a man, before you tell someone something, you need to be very careful with what you're going to say. Not all of us take things the right way. So also, I would like to add on that, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anne, for joining us all the way from Kenya. And
thank you so much for inviting me, Dentaa. Thank you so much.
Anne, can you hear me? Okay, great. I think there's a little bit of delay in our communication, but thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Ivy.
Yes.
What are your last words? I know that, you are currently going through all of these things right now as well. For somebody that's in their 40s and for somebody that, you want to find the right partner, but you seem to be getting the wrong partners all the time. What are some of the advice that you give to a younger person who is getting pressure from, peers and families?
Well, I would say that it's important to take your time to get to know yourself and get to know what makes you happy. And I think it's also so important to surround yourself with a community of friends who understand you and who you can go to and have conversations with and have a strong support from. Because there are those times when you may have pressure from society or from friend or from family, but if you have your friends who understand you, there for you, it's easier for you to get through. And it's important for you to work on who you are, building yourself up through your work, through learning, because I think sometimes people think once we graduate from school that learning is finished, but these days with a lot of online learning tools, you can continue to learn, you can continue to grow, you can volunteer with different organizations if you want to give back to the community. But I think it's a one day at a time thing, taking it one day at a time. And knowing that, as Lydia had said earlier, you have to be your sister's keeper, keep each other strong, keep a strong bond with those people who you respect and who are important to you. And then also finding a mentor. If you're a young woman, finding a mentor, an older woman who can help you grow and develop yourself. Because one of the things I didn't do when I was in my teens and 20s was finding a mentor. And I think that a lot of the women who did find someone who's a strong woman to give them the advice, because a woman who is matured has had life experience and she can give you advice based on some of those mistakes and failures she may have been through. And so when you have your own friends who are a strong support system, you have a more mature woman or even a man who may be some businessman that you respect, you may learn from. you have these strong forces in your life, and you keep your mind on positivity. Try to remove the negative out of your mindset so that you remain a strong person, and then you know when something good comes your way. But again, nothing is perfect, because I have met some good people. I've been in good relationships with good people that didn't work out, unfortunately. That's life. But I encourage them to stay strong and take it one day at a time. Find things that make you happy and get yourself involved in those things. And then one last thing I want to say is the way we raise children also, it plays a key role. So if you are a woman or a man who has a child and you're raising up your child, the things that you say to them are important, because they take those things in. So one example is, I know somebody who had a son when he was like 1 or 2 years old. He was very cute. Everybody was talking about how cute he is. And instead of the focus only being how cute and adorable he was, they also say, oh, this guy, he's going to break hearts. You're going to be a heartbreaker. You're going to break so many women's hearts. So you're telling that boy already that he should learn to break women's hearts just from the words you're saying. And you don't realize that you're saying it in a harmful, playful way because you're trying to say he's cute, but you're also teaching him, because you're cute, you can break women's hearts. Now imagine he grows up to be that 25-year-old man, good looking, women love him, and he subconsciously believes, I'm good looking, so I can break women's hearts. You know, so the way we raise our kids, the things we say to them is equally important. And I want to thank you, Dentaa, for having me on the show. This has been a great conversation. A lot of topics were raised. The one that really surprised me was when the polygamy came into the conversation. I was like, whoa, wow. But it was good to have that perspective in the conversation as well, because it brought a whole different dynamic to it, because there are people who that is what they want, and then there's people who don't want that. So it was good to see both sides. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ivy, for coming on. Guys, I hope that you have enjoyed tonight's show, and what I have taken out of it is trust and honesty. I've learned from this. We are our sister's keeper. We shouldn't accept, other men who are married. I think it's wrong, and I think that, we shouldn't be accepting that. I think that it is important that we do have mentorship. I think what Ivy has said in her last comments is that it's important that we have mentors, people that we can go to ask some of these questions. And I think to our parents, I know you mean well. So some of you that are pressurizing, but don't pressurize so much that your child goes into a wrong relationship and ends up crying back to you. So I think that, we need to be careful on what we say. We don't know what people are going through. You may say to somebody, oh, when are you going to get pregnant? When are you this? But you don't know what they're going through. You don't know they have tried about 10 IVFs or 8 IVFs, or have been to do all sorts of, herbal treatments, but they are not having children. Let's be sensitive in the way in which we approach people. Okay, mental health is real. People are really going through stuff. People have been married for 10, 20 years without any child. And it's not because they don't want any child. It's because the time hasn't come for them. So let's be sensitive in the way in which we talk to people. It's so important. Everybody is going through something. Look, social media is a facade. Not everything that people are going through is put out on social media. So you may think that their marriage is glam or everything is going right, but it might not be. It might not be. Don't push your daughter or your son into a marriage that they will regret. Learn to love yourself first. Learn to love, who you are. And then I think that, it will come. Let's be prayerful. I think prayer and religion comes into play. And I do believe in one woman, one man. I think it's important. You see some of these women, like one of our panelists saying, you see some of these women who have gone crazy, and it's because one man has let them down, or has gone for another woman. Let's be prayerful. Let's be our sister's keeper. And I think that's so important what Reneke came online to tell us. There's so many single women out there, and it's not because they want to be single. Not all of them. Some of them are happy being single as well. Some of them are happy being single. You know, so you can't compare what your life is to somebody else's life. Okay? Everybody's life and everybody's journey is different, and we should respect that. We should respect that. And I think that's so important. Even with what Nancy said, that is her view. Let's respect that. Okay? That's her view. That might not be your view. Okay, so I think that that's very, very important. But I thank you all for watching the Dentist Show. I hope that you'll keep sharing our pages and liking our pages. You know, let's support one another. You know, there are women out there also that have been single parents and have raised, you know, children by themselves. It's not necessarily that they need a man. Okay, they are capable of raising those children alone. So there's that side as well. Okay, and I think that we will be having a conversation with the men and seeing what the men go through. Are the men getting the same pressures as we are? You know, are they getting the same pressures as we are? And I think that that's a conversation that we will have another time. But yes, as I said before, do not forget to order your Seek earphones. Please go and grab one. Go on the website. You get 10% off. 10% off, guys. Go on the website and enter Dentaa VIP. Also, thank you to our sponsors, World Remit, for supporting us. And look, guys, if you're looking for investment opportunities in Africa, then go to Ordana Connect. Ordana Connect will link you to partnerships, agriculture, job search, whatever it is that you are looking for in Africa. That is the place to go. Again, thank you to all my panelists for joining me on the show. Again, don't forget about the spices, okay? The shito, the jollof spice. Go on the website and order one today. Make sure we need to be supporting one another. And so I think I'm going to end the show there. Have you guys enjoyed the show? Have you enjoyed the show? Please let me know if you've enjoyed the show. I will definitely see you next week. Next week, we're talking about investment. We're going to have the CEO of Ghana Investment Promotion Council, Yofi Grant, will be here to talk about investment opportunities for the people in the diaspora. And we're going to have some banks on as well. We're going to have banks that will tell you about bonds and treasury bills in Ghana that you can invest in. So make sure that you tune in to that show as well. Sundays is social Sundays, as I call it. We're going to talk about social issues, social things that are happening in our community. And guess what, guys? Make sure that you stay tuned next week for the Dentist Show. Take care and God bless you all for watching. Bye-bye.